Hey everybody, welcome to the UD6 September Finals. How are you doing, Mythical?
I'm doing great, Twin. Thanks so much for asking. It's been a 3-week road, as usual, for these tournaments to get here, but 4 players have arrived. We've got Ghost Death and Fireman sitting in the top 2 on the leaderboard. Definitely the biggest advantage is Ghost Death, about 40 points ahead of Fireman, and then we got about 20-point gaps between the other players. So all told, still pretty close. Ghost Death, Fireman on top, and then 2 players whose names I want to say back-to-back every time I say their names, Zigwigwi and Kapuik. Round out our 4 players for today, and it should be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be very intense. Do remember that it's on the full 10 games, you said those 20 points gap, so it's actually nothing. We are on the last finals, so we did like three courses selections, one in July, one in August, and the final one in September right now. So Devil Tifa and Brotherman qualified in July, Cute Shadow and Skunkov qualified during the August final, and today we need like those 2 last names. So Fireman, Zigwigwi, Kapuik or Ghost Death are going to get there. The goal is to beat those 10 games in the weekend as fast as possible and get there in first place. So, well, first or second would work, but you'd rather be first. So today we are playing Cuphead, Inertia, Donkey Kong Country, Spectrable and Shovel Knight, and tomorrow we are going to start with The End is Nigh, and then a story about my uncle, Metal Slug, Trials 2, and we are going to end the weekend with Castlevania Eye of Sorrow. So a vast, diverse selection, but we know the games very well at that point because the season started 5 months ago, almost like 4 months ago, and it's going to be a nice ride because Cuphead and Inertia are fair usually, but Cuphead has been way more important in those finals than usual, and Shovel Knight to end the day is going to be very intense, but the limit of 60 minutes has been pushed for the September tourney to 65 minutes, so everybody should be able to finish all those games on time.
Yeah, there is a bit of a discrepancy in Shovel Knight. Ghost Death and Fireman sitting very pretty at 159 and 160 points. Kapuik with a respectable 141, but it's Zigwigwi who's really going to have to work on Shovel Knight. 116 points, which, on a fair run will still finish under that cutoff point, but it's definitely going to be the thing to watch for on Shovel Knight. It's been the decider in a lot of cases, and hopefully it's not today. Hopefully it's just one of 10 games that all collectively decide which of these players is going to take it home. We can take a look at which games Fireman is strong at, particularly strong on Shovel Knight, like we said, also DKC, but is going to be looking out for Spectrable today and Metal Slug tomorrow. I would say are the strengths and weaknesses going forward here. Spectrable I don't value the Spectrable PB too highly when it comes to races. It seems like there's just different strats that players use for races and for PBs in that game, and there's also a different mindset, maybe even in how you approach different things. So I feel like your PB doesn't say all that much about your ability to perform in something like Spectrable.
Yeah, but Fireman has been practicing for races. He's been doing like all 10 games in a row in his stream, and he's sitting pretty on the 5th place of the best race times with a total of 16:67. It's a good result. His big weakness, weirdly enough, during races compared to PB is DKC, but that's understandable. DKC on races can go south very quickly. You have to get everything like almost deathless and pretty to be sitting at 41 minutes like he did on his PB, so it's understandable, except that those arrows are very, very close together, so it's pretty great. Kapuik is a different story. Like, his weaknesses and strengths are almost the opposite of Fireman, I'd say. Shovel Knight is going to be his biggest flaw for today, at least. If he finishes on time, it's going to be great. If he PBs, it's going to be very, very nice, but you cannot bet on that. DKC as well, pretty low bar there. Although his race time is the same as Fireman at 45:30, so it's pretty great. But Trials 2, Inertia, A Story About My Uncle, all those games is going to be grabbing some extra points, which is nice.
Ziguigui is also strong where Kripupik is weak on Area of Sorrow, which is going to be our big finale tomorrow. And also Trials, look at that bar, that double-bladed sword is awfully nice and full on Trials. Ziguigui is going to be the strongest of the bunch on that game. It's kind of the skunk off of this group, actually, with 220 points is pretty close to skunk off, where everyone else is kind of evenly matched around a very impressive 200-point time. Ziguigui is way ahead. Not going to be playing Trials today, though, so Ziguigui is probably going to come out of today a little bit behind. Weaknesses in Shovel Knight and DKC, so that can affect your mindset maybe a little bit going into the next day if you do come out behind. But conversely, if you hold with the rest on your weaker games, then you can go into the last day pretty strong. So we'll see how that goes. You can also see just very strong race times from all our competitors today. I mean, I guess it makes sense. In order to get to this point in the competition, you have to do well consistently in races. So, absolutely no surprise. But yeah, you can see Ghost Death actually stronger in races than compared to the grind, and pretty good on both overall. Is going to be the strongest player of the bunch today. One of the top Shovel Knights times on the leaderboard. Not way up there at the very top, but one of the, has crossed a threshold, I think, in that game. DKC as well. The only weakness, and it's really not too much of a weakness, is going to be inertia for Ghost Death. Is 20-ish points. I wrote this down somewhere. 14 to 20 points behind our other competitors today in that game, but otherwise is very solid.
Yeah, the biggest issue for Ghost Death shows on his player card right now is that his race PBs are significantly lower than his grind time, even compared to the other players. The ratio race to grind is a little bit worse, and that just shows that they did not race so much compared to the others. So they got a bit later into the season, took the entire July tournament to actually practice the games, and so they had less opportunity to put times up there. So except for that, like a little inexperience, but it's getting compensated very, very quickly during that September tournament. So they're probably going to get there on first place. If you had to bet, that would be the safe bet. But it is speedrunning, it is 10 games in a row, so anything can happen. And especially in Cuphead, as we are seeing right now, we are doing the any percent simple current patch category, and like any death is going to cost you about 10 points, I'd say, a minute. Yeah, so it's been like way worse for the player than you'd think. It's an easy game to get into, it's a pretty simple speedrun, but getting consistent during races especially, plus it being the first of a very important tournament, it might shuffle things a little bit.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why we've seen this push and pull is that your approach to racing this game is a little different than when you're going for your PBs, mostly because of damage boosts. You've only got 3 hit points, and death is not an option. You just cannot afford to die in a race in many cases. Sure, it can be made up across all 10 games and all that, but it's really something to be avoided. So all the strats, particularly often with spread, where you get really close and you intentionally take some hits to make sure that you keep the damage up, these become a lot less appealing in a race. And so I think there's players Are they feel like should they go for this? Should they not? Which of these strats do I practice and go with? And I think that that more than just the difficulty of the game is what gets people into trouble in this game and gets them into unfamiliar panic situations. We can see the PB is very evenly matched, less than a minute separating first and fourth of our players today. There's a couple of games where we're going to see all four players being quite evenly matched, and Cuphead is going to be the first. We're underway.
Nice synchronized starts. The timers are going to be a little bit different between players because it's in-game time, because the loads are so long and different inconsistent between players. But yeah, just if we are going to take a look at those. On the spread compared to roundabout subject, we've seen a shift. Like everybody was going spread during the July tournament, then in the August tournament we've seen like both, and in the September tourney it was only like exclusively roundabout. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if anyone shifted from that compared to last week, but my bet would be a full roundabout.
Yeah, I can't remember when we played Cuphead, so which players we were focusing on stream at the time. I guess I could take a quick look. It was game number 1, so we were probably looking at our top 4. So yeah, I would expect roundabouts all around. We can definitely see it there from Puik.
And yeah, 4 of them.
Yeah. All right.
So roundabout, it's great because the super, as you can see right now, is pretty good. You can bounce it back and around, like as long as you don't touch it, and it deals a lot of damage. But the biggest strength is that you can consistently hit all your bullets, even if you're not facing the boss, which results in a bigger DPS compared to the spread. If you cannot hit all the bullets of the spread shot at the same time, which you can usually do, except on some bosses. So it's globally safer, it's not significantly slower, but you still need to get all your dodging spot on. You need to be great at hitting the boss, knowing the patterns, and yeah, you are going to take a lot of hits. You can see the HP on the bottom left corner of all the screens, and usually it goes down like pretty scarily throughout the fight. So we're going to see on Ruby and Croak what's going to be the approach on all those 4 players. It's pretty close so far.
All 4 players choosing to take those 2 hits on the root pack. I was about to jump to the conclusion that maybe this is telling us that all the players are going to be a little more aggressive on this fight than in this game rather than in some other. But that fight is pretty safe and consistent enough that even in a race, it's not too crazy to go for those damage boosts, and that could be the case for Ribby and Croaks. But I guess the strats are just a little bit different with Roundabout, that you don't need getting inside the hitbox for the multiple spread hits is not a thing. So damage boost probably not going to be too much of a factor on this fight. We'll get a look. I'm not sure when we'll really get a look to see if players are going to be more aggressive or not compared to spread. With spread, it's so easy to just take a hit, get inside a hitbox, and use it. Use the supers. Very difficult to use the spread super without taking a hit. And very easy when you do. So you can definitely see the obvious mentality in the players and how they're going to be approaching. That's a little harder to see with Roundabout. But for now, Ghost Death is our leader, sort of. Again, reminder, keep an eye on those timers. When you sync up those timers, you'll see that these players are probably still very, very close, too close to call even at this point. Doing a good job of making sure that all the roundabouts curl around on Goopy Legrand. He takes a hit on the backswing there of that punch, but it's pretty late into the fight. Does not matter. Ghost Death gets the kill.
Yeah, it's you do not want to get hit usually with the roundabout. It's all your HP is there for safety, So any hit is a little bit scary. That means the players has been a little bit too quick on their feet, but it was okay. Fireman taking an intentional hit at the end of the fight. Quick finishing in 36 seconds in game time. Same for Fireman. And Zigwigwe is having great fights so far. He's consistently shaving off a little seconds here and there, which is a good sign. Even if he does appear to be behind, it's probably not the case, and we are starting Hildeberg. That boss has been killing a lot of people, and so the player has been reverting to safer strat, but Ghostdeath is taking a hit there to get those multiple hits. A very, very nice looking strat. You can go for 2 of those, but usually the players just go for the 1 at the start there.
Yeah, it's the happy middle ground between aggressive and safety, which is going to be, that's kind of how UD works in a lot of ways in terms of how players approach fights. And as much as you can bring to a speedrun as an individual, in terms of just following the route, is pretty much all in terms of this speed versus safety idea. Ghostdeath has got he's used the big super. He got that very tricky multiple hit on the 1 super, so very far along in this fight. There it is, the knockout. Still going to appear to be our leader, but I would bet that we are actually still incredibly close between all 4 players. Fireman dodging Hildeberg on that, I think that was the second sweep, and is now letting loose with supers as well as Kerpikweek. Zigwigwe down to 1 health, so I'm pretty sure this is the end of the fight, but he cannot get hit.
It's very close, and it's a bit scary. They're still taking those parries to gather more super charges, but very, very nice fight for Zigwigwe. The in-game time for Ghostdeath was 59 seconds. Zigwigwe got 1 minute and 1 second, so it's very close. And Ghostdeath starting the fight where all the story about the roundabout started, because spread is so bad here at hitting the boss that the spread is actually very, very much faster. So that's where the whole idea of the using the roundabout started. You can get a lot of hits, you can easily dodge all the shots and knock out already. This is like the roundabout is very, very interesting here.
Yeah, you're often, jumping over stuff anyway. So, it often, that can get you into trouble, like we just saw from Fireman, who jumped over his super and into something coming off the top of the screen. But your left-right movement, there you have a bit of wiggle room to get around things while you're doing these jumps over the super. It's difficult to make that aspect of it work, but it's pretty rare that you take 3 hits with this strategy, just staying on this front platform. We actually see Fireman had 2 supers going at the same time, the double yo-yo. As long as they're grouped up together like that, 1 jump will get you over both. It's when they're a little more spread out and you have to be doing this double Dutch skip rope kind of thing to get over both of them is when it can maybe get a little out of hand, but no problems for any players on Cagney Carnation. Ghostdeath going to be the first one onto Baroness von Bonbon, one of the trickier fights in the game, in the run, the one that's responsible for maybe the most deaths in the UD, and I would say, if not the most deaths, the most time lost, because the hard part comes really late into the run, into the fight, rather, and any death here is going to eat up a pretty good chunk of time. Ghostdeath off to a pretty solid start, still has full health, is on this platform now, and we'll see how he approaches his use of supers, or perhaps not not using any. There we go. Nice. Opting with the pretty safe strategy, and he takes a hit. No! So that's why that is okay.
Oh wow!
That is the incentive to just keep firing the roundabouts, as you stay very safe, but you don't use that ammo that really speeds up the fight.
Zigwigwe started with a hit on the first candy corn enemy there, and they got only 2 HP, as we've seen on Ghostdeath stream. It's pretty easy to lose 2 HP very, very close together. Baroness von Bonbon killed so many players. It'd be interesting to see actually how many players never died on that boss, because it's very, very easy to just get like take a little hit from something that's very, very hard to dodge. But the roundabout makes it so safe. The spread strategy here is incredibly aggressive. You have to get into Baroness von Bon Bon hitbox, and the spread shot, you just crouch on the middle platform and you're done. Very nice fight from Zigwigwe. Actually passing on stream Fireman and Quick, even though the timer is actually like 20 seconds behind. So it's a significant lead for Zigwigwe on that fight. And on Wally Warbles, one of the most best looking fight on this in this game, in my opinion. Ghost Death is just doing a great job, because that fight is not a real issue until that final phase. But if you can manage to dodge and refill your supers, you'll be doing pretty.
Ghost Death, I think, fired off the super maybe a little prematurely here. Is in a bit of a weird situation trying to finish off this fight. Does find the knockout. Kerpuik on Baroness von Bon Bon, died pretty much right as he transitioned to the second phase. Was down to one hit left, and got caught trying to go for something a little aggressive. Lost about 30-40 seconds maybe. Is gonna put him, that's like 7-8 points or so in this game. Which is not how you want to start, but it wasn't super late into the fight. It was just kind of late into the fight, and is definitely not out of it. Just a moderate setback for Caprique. Wally Warbles now for Zigwigwe and Fireman going well. Zigwigwe on the final phase lands that full super, and so at this point, when the eggs are all spread out, is when the fight is much easier. And Zigwigwe gets it done. Ghost Death on Jimmy the Great, going through the pretty easy sequence here, going out of his way to blow up all these heads for a bit of extra damage. Fireman now in the final phase of Wally Warbles.
You can see those players getting super aggressive. Getting so close to Wally Warbles and getting the parries on time is actually kind of tricky. But yeah, they got the kill with taking not a single hit. They were super safe. And we can see the PBs on screen. Zigwigwe and Ghost Death PB-wise are super close. That's why they are also close during that race. Cuphead is probably the most consistent game we have on the season. It's actually quite easy to get very close to PB, as long as your PB is not like sub 18, but around like the 19 minutes. That usually means you are going for race strats. Even during your PB grind. Oh, Zigwigwe using his super too early, but gets the blow up on the both pillar side, so that means the damage was actually done, so that's great. But you do not want to waste that super. That would be terrible. Fireman getting a reset at the start of Jimmy the Great. They probably took 2 hits quickly and did not want to go for the full fight with only 1 HP. That's totally fine. You'd rather lose 15 seconds compared to the minute the fight actually takes. And the cat patterns at the start is not too bad, so that should be okay for them.
All right, Fireman opening up the fight now a little better than last time. Ghost Death is going to be the first one. Onto Beppy the Clown. You can see one shot of that roundabout, 2 now going over top of Beppy the Clown, and one weird diagonal one got away from him there, but it's going to need one more cycle. The job done here. No, and what, 2 more?
Yeah.
Roundabout not quite getting it done the way that Spread does, but this will surely do it. Moving on to the next phase. It's got a lot of supers shooting them down. There's a hip down there that you can hit with your supers. Lets you get to work charging up your next supers on this phase, and you can see it's already dead, so that's what happens when you get those supers in during that downtime. Very nice little trick as Zigwigwe is finishing up with Jimmy the Great. And hard to say who is in the lead between Ghost Death and Zigwigwe. They are the 2 best Cuphead runners, but with the almost a minute discrepancy between the timers, it's in one boss fight, basically, one going in, one done. Definitely hard to say who's in the lead between these 2.
12:46 at the black screen for Ghostess. My bet is Zigwigwi is about 10 seconds behind, but that's very, very close together. And the run is not done. We've seen a lot of time loss on the final aisle and on the Grim Matchstick. The Grim Matchstick can actually take you a long time, but the roundabout actually makes it quite safe. But there's a little bit of RNG in that game, and it weighs a lot during the green matchstick fight. Baby the Clown is where the roundabout is the weakest, I think, because it's you can get so many hits with the spread, especially during the first phase. Zigwigwi taking 2 hits, but gets the knockout like very close, and yeah, that's about 10 seconds exactly behind Ghostess, so very, very close between those two.
Fireman not opting to use any supers downwards during the transition. Just it looked almost like he was going to try to fire the roundabouts up and then curl them down onto the hitbox down there, but they do hit the floor and dissipate. So not a strategy that is going to work. Ghost Death on that Grim Matchstick fight, like you said, gets the knockout. That was a very clean matchstick from Ghost Death, and one of the biggest roadblocks, biggest worries that you have in the speedrun from the point that the players are at now. Grim Matchstick, probably the biggest. Sally stage play is pretty significant, but Ghost Death is cruising here. About a 10-second lead, like you said. Zigwigwi can maybe make this up. It's pretty hard to make up 10 seconds at this point in Cuphead just through cleaner play. A bit of RNG will maybe matter here with cloud positioning on Grim Matchstick. You can see Zigwigwi's got some clouds that are low, that are maybe too low. Hopefully this one is not too high, and it's just right, actually. He's found the Goldilocks cloud.
Yeah. The fight here starts for Ghost Death. Usually that first phase goes pretty smoothly. They almost drowned in the honey, but was okay for them, taking a big risk there. And so far so good for everybody. The Grim Matchstick for Fireman, once again, probably one of the scariest for me, like personally. The random positioning of the clouds get me all the time. And the second phase, the hitbox of the dragon is actually very, very low, and it's almost impossible to hit them with the spread shot there. You usually use the pea shooter, and the roundabout does a great job if you manage to get the height you want. So, and you have to dodge all those flamey soldiers that jump at you. It can get overwhelming pretty quickly.
And Fireman's boss has got to be dead soon, right? Okay, there we go. It does find the knockout. Had to dance around on the clouds just a little bit longer than some of the other players. Maybe lost 5 or 10 seconds or so on that fight. Zigwigwi's turn for Matchstick now, as Zigwigwi is on the second phase of Honeybottom. Ghost Death moving on to Sally's stage play. Still going to be our leader on stream and probably in the race. Probably still a little bit ahead of Zigwigwi. Zigwigwi is now done with Matchstick as well. That is a very important fight for Zigwigwi after falling behind on Baroness von Bonbon. Zigwigwi is not quite done with Honeybottom yet. It's got to be close, as Ghost Death is now into the Sally stage play fight proper.
So Sally stage play first phase usually goes quickly, and the second phase is where it gets tricky because you have so many stuff and things on screen to dodge. It's pretty easy to lose track of what's happening, but with the roundabout you do not have to care about like actually hitting or facing the boss, so it's a nice thing to have. And as long as you have a lot of HP, third phase is incredibly quick.
Yep, there's that hit, taking the hit from the big wave. No point going well out of your way to get the parry to bounce over it. Sally stage play phase 3 done for Ghost Death. Just the Phantom Express left, and it is a much easier fight, I guess, than stage play or Matchstick or any of that. So it's going to be well posed take it here in game number 1. We agree on the first phase now.
I actually think Ghost Death is on PB pace right now. Like, it looks like 1730 entering the Phantom Express usually means sub 19, so that's actually very good for them. And starting the final with a PB would be like huge, just morally. It doesn't change anything because the point system doesn't give you like a big edge for anything. It's just like a maybe 1 or 2 extra points, but it just being able to get there is going to be nice for them. So Zigwigwi has to get the kill very quickly there and gets it with the super. And Quick and Fireman are going to start stage play right now. First phase once again should not be a problem for Fireman. And Ghost Death is almost done already with the run actually.
On the final phase now of the Phantom Express, doesn't have the spread supers on this fight, so it's just kind of just chilling with the diagonals, much more straightforward to get this fight down. Has a bunch of supers to finish it off, and with 18:30 on the clock on the final hit, I think that is going to be very close. 18:54 is the PB for Ghost Death, so he's gonna have to run his little cartoon booties off over to that doorway. Oh, it's going to be close.
Oh, it's going to be
Stop
like
dancing,
about
you
like
fool,
4
and
seconds
get
behind.
running.
Oh my god.
I don't think he got it.
No, it's about like 2 seconds behind. I think it's going to be 18, like, 50?
5,
6, yeah.
6, 2 seconds.
Oh my
Alright,
god.
still a fantastic run from Ghost Death.
Yeah, very, very good. Zigwigwi is on PB pace because their PB is about like 10 seconds behind Ghost Death, and they're only a second behind Ghost Death entering the Phantom Express according to 2C Plus in chat. So it's going to be very interesting to see what their final time is. Very, very close, and I like Zigwigwi taking the lead on that first race because they're not leading on PB-wise on the leaderboard compared to Fireman, and as we said, their first day is probably the worst compared to tomorrow, so starting with a good like edge on the first game is going to be very nice for them. Obviously, Quick and Fireman still have 9 games to come back, and the lead is not that significant. It's going to be maybe 10 to 15 points between all those players, so that's nothing compared to the 1500 we are looking to get in the entire weekend. So it's going to be very nice and good start for Ghost Death and Zigwigwi. Zigwigwi entering the final world there at 1850, and they're actually going to they actually finished at 1850, so beating Ghost Death's PB.
Yeah, that is a fantastic finish, particularly on the Phantom Express. Was just chilling in the middle of the fight the whole time, just never missed a shot. Had all the supers landed. It was a great fight. Fireman had to scramble a little bit at the end there, but he manages to clean it up. Quick now. You can see one shot every now and then getting through, and is going to go ahead and take 2 hits here. Yeah, he has to make sure he hits that ghost, and has some supers built up, but he doesn't need them, so he's just going to finish off the boss. And now he is done. We're going to see a final time of about 20:42 or so from Quick. Fireman is going to be a little bit ahead of that, but there is a pretty big gap between Ghost Death and Zigwigwi versus Fireman and Quick. I mean, big in terms of this one race, like you said.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of all 10 games, not that big. But yeah, we have seen this, I don't think Fireman died. Quick died. I think Fireman just lost time here and there a little bit, bled seconds over the course of the run to get to where he was, but all 4 players finished. It was still 4 very good runs of Cuphead. Hats off to the PB from Zigwigwi. That's a hell of a way to start a tournament.
Yeah, very close for Ghost Death as well, and we are going to take a look at the leaderboard, and it's going to be nice, like 2 set of players setting the pace, Zigwigwi and Ghost Death, with over 200 points, so Black score there 1850 and 1856, and Fireman and Quick about 15 to 20 points behind, so nothing much, but it's going to matter just a little bit for the total. Fireman and Quick should come back actually pretty quickly because Inertia is right after that, and it's the worst of Ghost's games, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how well that goes for them.
We can take a look at the game now. Incredibly fast-paced first-person platforming. It's too fast, honestly. It is impossible to control this game, but somehow the players manage it. You have a double jump, though you'll almost never see the double jump watching this game because it's very often used immediately after your regular jump, so it looks like they're just doing a big jump or a small jump. And that's because if you use that double jump late into your jump, then it kind of almost does nothing. It's almost like a puff of cloud goes poof, but nothing happens. It is very, very tough to control. It's been a game that has been divisive, players who take well to it and players who don't. In this case, we've got fairly even, but it is Ghostdeath who is the black sheep of the bunch. Only 6 points separating the other players, and then an additional 14 separating Ghostdeath from those players. It's been a game that has been very tough to race. Players have done well, very well in races, but compared to what's possible in a PB when you're really going for it and you're resetting basically every time it doesn't go well, is the key thing. Then you get this discrepancy between PB and race times that is to be expected, but you'd think just once someone would get a really good inertia run, the way we just saw for Cuphead, right? We just saw PB from Zerguigui in a game like Cuphead. That doesn't really happen in inertia. It is just too difficult to execute on everything in this game, even though it's so short.
It's what bugs me all the time. Like you can see on Zerguigui's player card, we've seen a 750 as his PB. That's 213 points, and his race PB is actually like 925, which is like good time. Like anything sub 10 is good on race, but you want to get sub 8 when you're grinding a PB, which is like incredible. But Zerguigui and Quick are the two best players for inertia, so that's going to be nice for Quick if they want to come back just a little bit at the start of that tournament. We probably not said it, but this tourney is very important for those players because the only last opportunity after that to get into the grand finals is going to be in 2 weeks. We have the last chance tournament, so everybody is invited, playing all the 10 games in a weekend, but that's a brawl. That's just everybody, no selection, nothing. And maybe we are going to see like new players that just skip the selection tournaments to get directly into grinding and just get that one last opportunity to get there. And we are waiting for some like pretty big names in the UD leaderboards to get there. So Quick, Fireman, Zerguigui, and Ghostdeath, the two who are not going to make it this weekend, have very little chance to make it in 2 weeks. So it's maybe their actual last chance there. Once again, it's speedrunning, it's races, so we never know. But it's clearly their best opportunity on paper.
Yeah, you can beat these, two of these three competitors here today, or you can go up against, who knows? You could be seeing Mel West, you could be seeing Super Link God, Zoph, who are all top 5, I think, on the overall UD leaderboard for the season, and try to beat 2 of those 3, right? So these players, everyone is pretty good. But there are some real monsters who are lurking that you would really rather not deal with. This is their golden ticket, and they're ready to punch it 20 seconds into the race now for inertia. Quick missing this opening jump in the second level. This is the first jump that I think is a little tricky, but rounds that corner very nicely. It's fairly smooth sailing over the first couple levels. I mean, I say sailing is a perfect word for how you move through these levels, really. But it's level 4, I think, where you skirt around that edge like we just saw. That is the first kind of trick of the run.
I'm having flashbacks of last week's semifinals where Salient Mars and Exodo both got eliminated because of inertia. Salient Mars and Exodo are fantastic runners for UD6. They got very good results and did not finish, sadly, inertia on time, and that was their big stop. And like it's a game that mattered way more than I expected, and also it's such a fun game to watch, and I did not expect that. The flow of the game makes it very cool. Just you can see, there's so much anticipation on every single of those jumps. You can see them barely or not making the jumps to get towards the end or the platform they're aiming for. So 32 levels, and it's going pretty quickly at the start. The first 10 levels are usually smooth, and just like it's the nice introduction into the game. Level 11 with that small window, quick making sure they're not missing it, and then we have like a big like difficulty spike, and during like 12, 13, 14 and 15 everything gets a little bit trickier, and actually like the difficulty then ramps up towards like the end where 29 and 30 are actually like the big difficulty spike in the run.
First reset in quite a while from Quick on 13. Like you said, the difficulty is increasing. Fireman in sync here with Quick actually in the top right corner, and we're seeing a bit of troubles from Ziguigui on I think that's 12 that he's on. Is finally going to make it happen on that level, just keeping pace with Ghost Death, a level and a half or so behind Fireman at this point.
We just barely missed the platform, died on 15 in the middle of the level, and a lot of wall runs. The wall runs are actually like pretty tricky to get used to, and probably like the worst game design element of that game. Everything else is pretty great, but the wall run can get you like stuck pretty badly. Fireman and Quick very close together, but Quick is in the lead, and they actually like currently need that to get back into like the pack. They're last, but not by much, and it's going to be pretty nice for them if they can catch up to the Guigui and Ghost Death, sitting currently 20 points ahead of them.
Oh, it's Guigui missing the rounded platform. It's mean enough. These platforms appear big when the players are playing because they're playing so well, but they really are quite small. The hitboxes are not particularly generous in this game or anything, so the rounded platforms are even more particularly annoying to land on. We saw that trip up Quick as well, but both players have now navigated that particular problem. Level 19 now for Quick is holding the lead by about 2 levels over some of our other players. Ziguigui has dropped back a little bit after a fantastic Cuphead. This level 16, oh no, he got the first platform but was unable to convert onto the second. Fireman taking it pretty safe here on some of these ledge platforms, getting into the exit of 17 is now on 18. And Quick still kind of running away with it here, smooth sailing into 21 now.
Oh, Ziguigui getting stuck there. The sliding and the jumping buttons are bind on the same input, and sometimes you can get jumping instead of sliding there, finally make it. But that's the only downside to that specific binding the players are using. Binding together sliding and jumping allows you to get to those 1620 unit per second speed you see on their screens, and it's the best way to be moving through the game. Ziguigui is actually like very stuck, so like it look almost like something bad is happening to them. I hope they can manage to get back into the groove of the game, because they're currently sitting 5 levels behind Quick.
Yeah, this is a short game. Any short game is pretty punishing in the UD. You know, those seconds will tick by pretty quick, and if you get in this situation where it's not really a matter of you know, making execution mistakes, because you know eventually you'll only make so many mistakes if you're in a good state mentally, but it's when things get in your head a little bit and you start making the same mistake over and over and over, that is when games like this are very punishing. Those seconds will tick by until you finally get yourself, back in sorts and running properly again. When the timer's at 6 minutes to 12 seconds, he's still fine in terms of making the cutoff, but that's the kind of thing that you very quickly can start to worry about in this game. Meanwhile, Kerpikpik is joined on 26 by Fireman, so Fireman has really picked it up, or Kerpikpik has fallen off just a little bit, but both players are very close now. Kerpikpik still has the lead by just a little bit, and they are very far, coming up on level 29, which is kind of the biggest roadblock at the end of the game.
Yeah, 29 killed so many runs. Kerpikpik is having like nice movement overall. They got like very little death and got frustrated on 24. We've seen them stuck and just shaking the camera waiting for the platform to come back. The game has a lot of universal cycles. Sadly, you have to wait for them. If you eventually die, the platforms don't reset, so that can get frustrating. And here we are on 29, so the level is pretty convoluted. It's hard to tell where you have to go exactly on your first playthrough. The game will that level will get you stuck for a long time, and the wall runs here landing on that very small platform. As you said, the platforms appear to be actually bigger than they are when you're watching a speedrun. When you are playing yourself, it's like threading the needle every single jump. It's actually like crazy small, and like they're not looking at their feet, they're landing confidently on those tiny platforms, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I think it might go a long way, actually, if you could look down and see your feet and use that as any kind of helpful guide, but you really are just having to rely on feel a lot of the time. You can start your jump as best you can, but you really don't have a lot of control once you're in there, in the air, to finesse your way into the jumps. We did see a bit of a camera wiggle from Kerpikpik that I don't think this time, I mean, it was frustration before because he was just waiting, but wiggling the camera will trick the game into thinking you're strafing and give you some extra speed. If you watch it, the IL levels of this of this game, you'll see the camera going nuts a lot of the time. It can be a little hard to watch, so I'm a little thankful that the players aren't doing it and playing as well as Kerpikpik is, who finishes in 8:36. But made a jump and read that, like, I don't think I'm gonna make it, and just started wiggling the camera in the hopes that little extra was going to be what got him onto the ledge. It did. Fireman finishing just 12 seconds behind Kerpikpik, a very strong run from both.
Yeah, sub 9. I've said in race, like, sub 10 is a good goal, but actually landing 2 sub 9s on those finals is going to be pretty great for the 2 players sitting behind after Cuphead. So it's actually going to be a very, very well compensated by Inertia. Inertia goes for 3 seconds per point. Since it's twice as short as Cuphead, the points goes twice as fast, obviously. And Ghostdeath is just setting up that final jump. Oh no! They were barely not making it, and saw that right before actually touching the platform and hit the reset button before actually getting the confirmation there, which shows how much experience they have with the game. Because it's not, you do not want to get stuck on 32, especially when you want to step 10 and the seconds are ticking by. That final jump, it looks way easier than it actually is, and the double jump is so bad in that game. But 9 minutes and 54 seconds is the final time for Ghostdeath, and Zigwigwi is actually sitting 2 levels behind right now. On level 30, they're going to start 31 right now, and their in-game timer is at 10 minutes right now. So, it's going to be a big time loss for them.
Yeah, doesn't have to worry about the cutoff. 13:30 is the 100-point mark, so we're quite a ways away from that with only 1 level to go. That'd be a hell of a commentary curse if that were to be a roll. What we're talking about here is not 100 points, but it's going to be 20 plus points, far more than that actually. We're talking more in the order of 40, maybe even 50 points behind with this run from Ziguigui. Earned 20 or so over some of the other competitors in Cuphead, but is going to drop back in inertia. And we thought it was going to be Ghost Death in this situation. Was 20 points behind on the leaderboard in this game, but I've been very impressed with Ghost Death's ability to learn quickly and to race consistently, and it shows. Beating Ziguigui, not quite able to compete with the incredible times posted by Kerpeek and Fireman, but it did a great job of executing where you're weak, basically, to pick up as many points as you can and count that you're going to be able to make up those points later. So the final leaderboard, Kerpeek and Fireman sitting on top, but not by much, just 6 points between Fireman and Ghost Death. And then we see this 15-point difference between Ghost Death and Ziguigui. 15, not a lot. I thought it was going to be more for sure, but Ziguigui really picked it up on that final level. This is still pretty close.
Yeah, so DKC up next, and I like how we see those two players, like those two sets of two players, Kerpeek and Fireman, getting similar scores on Cuphead and Inertia, and being like 3 points between them after the first two games. Ghost Death and Ziguigui getting very good times on Cuphead, and then like not so great on Inertia. But up next is DKC. DKC is a pretty interesting platformer, obviously, and it's a very, very well-known game on the overall like speedrunning community. There is currently many person tourney, all stages on speed gaming going on. If you haven't watched any of those, please be sure to check those out, especially because like some of our UD runners joined that tournament, because obviously once you've learned the speedrun, you want to be part of anything that's happening with them. And DKC, like, it's been tough to learn for most of the runners. It's a long game, it is very tricky, you die very quickly, and there's a lot of glitches and things to use, but thankfully the infinite jump, as soon as you've learned the setup, is pretty nice to use pretty much everywhere, especially at the end of the game. So it's a nice and interesting speedrun. The races have been intense, especially at the start, and as soon as the players get into the groove of things, especially later on, it's smooth sailing.
I was very happy to learn that the UD runners were taking part in the DKC tournament. It's definitely not the first time that a speed gaming tournament has coincided with some other shift in the speedrunning landscape. We did a Mega Man 1 tournament that was populated, I think at least 2/3 of it were Retro Game Racing League had picked Mega Man 1 as their game for the month, and so it was just mostly them all competing in our tournament, and introduced me to a bunch of names. It's really cool to see the way the speedrun landscape changes like that, and DKC is a fantastic thing for people to get into. It's got a huge community, and a ton of resources, which makes it great for the UD and for getting into. There's they have here's the faster strat, here's the safer strat, and very few guides and tutorials out there to do it as cleanly and as I guess cleanly is the big thing, as the DKC speedrun website and videos do. There's a lot of overlong tutorials with a lot of talking, and it's recorded live, so they mess it up and try it again, or they're like, you can kind of see how it's supposed to go. None of that. DKC has fantastic tools, and it's helped the players do very well in this game, but it's helped Ghost Death do just a little bit better, is sitting 173 points on the leaderboard. Very impressive. One of the best times in the whole UD, let alone of the four competing today. Fireman also has traditionally been our strongest DKC player until Ghost Death kind of took the reins. And it's going to be Ziguigui and Kerpeek who are a little bit behind, about 20 points separating them. on the leaderboard in terms of personal bests for however much that matters. We're seeing Zigwigwi and most players opting not to do the extendo roll in the first level. There's definitely been a shift away from this, but yeah, extendo roll is a major game mechanic in speedrunning DKC, and is kind of it's hard. It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
So players they do it here and there, but they're focused more on their consistency in the UD.
Yeah, trying not to die. This is a full game, like all stages speedrun. The UD is crazy and does not go with like halfway measures, so you have to know how to run the game from start to finish. We really try to get like full categories, although there's like something to be said just about like learning the first half of the game, but like DKC, this is all stages. You have to learn like, I don't know how many, about 30 stages, and as you've said, like this is an amazing game to get into. Like the resources and the community is incredible. You have a lot of stuff to learn, but a lot of mean to do so, and it's pretty cool. It has a lot of interesting glitches, and overall it's a game that is totally worth to be played. DKC 1, 2, and 3 is a nice series in the Super NES. And the speedrun is just like full of tricks and skips, but sadly it's also very hard because like a single hit will lose you DD, and as soon as you lose DD you're dead pretty much. Donkey Kong is not the character you want to play as in DKC 1, and he's so heavy and slow, and you're usually just used to play with DD, so you'll see the players almost all the time play as DD. There are some, like in Culture, you need to play as DK to get the secret barrel, but pretty much, except that, it's always DD that's going to be on front. First water level, and water levels are interesting. You are going to go and grab Unguard as soon as possible, as you see on the Google screen, and the fish helps you like quite a lot. The bucking is just like super powerful. You have a lot of iframes, and if you were to lose Unguard, you can just find them and grab them again, so it's just nice safety. It makes it perfect, but it's so hard to optimize. On the speedrun wiki, it's all the water levels are rated like impossible to optimize.
Yeah, finding the corners like Fireman just got hung up on, you might think like, why didn't he go down? It's because he's trying to hit that corner. There is a bit of I don't know the specifics of the mechanics of why this is desirable. I mean, there are some corners where it's just the shortest path from A to B, but the corners themselves will actually speed you up in another way. But if you hit it wrong, it's just going to stop you, and oh, it's such a pain. That a very, very good seasoned Donkey Kong player will play through a water stage and think they did it perfectly, and they will lose like 3 seconds compared to the world record, and not know where it came from. And it's just these tiny optimizations all over the place in those water levels. Very, very fun to see. Also very fun to see is Barrel Canyon. Lots of levels are, not quite skipped. You do have to finish every level in this category, but some levels do have a lot of secrets that get you a lot of progression. Some of them will skip most of the level entirely, and this is kind of one. There is an important trick to make sure you get the bounce off the Kremlin to get up to the second string of cannons. Both players, or all 4 players rather, did that very well, and are now dispatching with the first boss, which is really nothing too special. Just jump on it. Just jump on it.
Jump on it 6 times. You know, the magic numbers depend from series to series. In Mario Brothers, it's usually like 3 hits for the bosses, and in DKC, it's 6. So as long as you can get those hits, you'll be just doing fine, and the bosses will not like kill you nor lose you too much time in DKC. So it's just a nice transition into World 2, where first level is not too bad, and then Minecart Carnage is impossible if you want to play it normally, but as long as you know that there is a secret barrel right at the start and you can jump above that final Kremlin, it's going to be alright. So Bouncy Bonanza starting next up for Cause Death. This is not too bad, but those caverns levels have those tiny crawl spaces you want to sneak into, and all those extendos which we've seen just right now, because there's and a lot of cycles, so it's they're not super easy to optimize, and a lot of cycles with the bees. Here you can save a cycle if you're super crazy, but usually the runners don't go for that, because once again, usually it's all for safety in DKC, and I totally agree with that choice.
Yeah, there are so many strats in this game where you can save usually less than a second doing something insanely precise. And the game just has so many people, and it's popular enough that eventually the world record demands these sorts of things, and so they're well documented, but really it's just not at a level that it makes any sense for our players in the UD. So it's not just the smart choice, it's the sane choice in most of these cases. Yeah. to not even worry about those things. You know, go for the rolls and the extendos that makes sense, that aren't hyper precise in order to make up these tiny little small gains, and go for the big tricks like we're seeing from Ghost Death, setting up a super jump here. I didn't see Donkey Kong do the thing, so he needs Donkey Kong to jump off the top of the screen. I think that big ramp has something to do with why he does that, but when he does that, you can store that state that he gets when he jumps way off the top of the screen, and by fraying him, switching, and then holding A as you bounce off this enemy, you trigger it. Fireman misses the barrel on the way up, but gets it on the way down. Yeah, the barrel is off screen, and it just takes you to the end of the level, and there's no other way to get it. It shouldn't be there. It's theorized it was left in by developers in a weird way, but he gets it. Kerpeek is showing off something here.
Oh yeah.
Man, the miss is bad, but the extra live trick here for Kerpeek is we saw this before. You get a little nervous about the game over. That you're just done. You just lose 0 points. You're done if it happens. So Kerpeek doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah, nobody is going to save at Candy's shop, so everybody is just like either sure to finish with all their starting lives or going to farm some lives, and Kerpeek like showing off that, and this is the best place to be farming lives, so it's okay. And 20 extra lives, Kerpeek is never going to game over now. They're all like experienced runners for that game, but not like they've not been like playing thousands of hours. We've announced the game like 4 months ago. They had to work on 10 different games, so obviously the safety is also like welcome. So Fireman is leading right now on Treetop Town, and this is a very, very short level, so it's all good. Force Frenzy should go quickly as well, as long as you get the infinite jump trick there.
Yeah, this is key. It's not just a safety measure that we'll see a lot of players be doing in some of the later levels. This is actually the fastest strategy. There goes Diddy off the top. He's got him back, and we'll see if he manages to land on this ledge before touching the Kremlin. That means he won't grab any of these ropes, and grabbing the ropes is kind of the whole thing in this level. You grab it, and it slowly takes you over to the side. It's not moving as fast as Fireman is right now. As he soars over the entire level, he is actually continually ascending at this point, and there's a cue that one of the Kremlins coming up soon is where you actually let go of the button, and you're just so high that you don't come down for a long time. So he could be, I'm pretty sure he's already on the way down, and he will hopefully descend right at the exit. If you're too early, it's usually fine. If you're too late, you can wait, and perfectly timed there from Fireman. We have seen some players hold it a little too long, maybe a little nervous or whatever, and they lose some time waiting to come back down from this ridiculous jump, but just getting it is the thing. Zagwigwi also getting it.
Kerpeek died on Verticulture. They maybe missed the secret barrel. You have to reach a certain point with the donkey fast enough. and they got like the perfect reaction, identified the problem immediately, died, got the donkey back, died again to start the level with both Donkey and Diddy Kong, and then got to the level as quickly as they can. So just those like quick reaction shows the racing experience those runners have. You have to know when something goes wrong. You have to be like, okay, this is how I deal with that situation, especially. And I feel like DKC is one of those games where every death, every level is going to set you up differently. You need to know what character you need, what you need to set up. Do you need both? Can you do the level with just the Diddy or the Donkey Kong you currently have? Do you have the extra lives to do so? Where are the secrets and all that jazz? So that game is very like significantly trickier than like just a regular platformer where you would like go from point A to point B with just like a single character. It's you know, all those games with multiple upgrades like Mario Brothers 3 or any game that's actually like carries stuff from levels to levels get you during speedruns. Meanwhile, on the top left of the screen, Fireman just finished Orangutan Gang, but never entered the level proper.
Yeah, there is a really weird glitch where there are some bends in the road when you walk around on the world map, and I guess one of the ways they constructed the way that these Kongs move around on the map is they have a point. Every line connects 2 points, and so even if there's no level, there's kind of an invisible point there, and for the one frame these Kongs pass over that point, if you press a button to enter a level, it tries to enter a level. There is no level there. It redirects to Orangutan Gang most of the way through the level, and it's pretty weird. So what you're seeing Zigwigwi do is he's literally just mashing 4 face buttons, or I don't know what technique he uses, but a lot of players just go nuts on the buttons as they approach that corner. It's literally frame perfect. You do need to have just one Kong, because I'm not quite sure exactly why, but if you don't have one Kong, you can get in the funky warp barrel, and that gives you one sprite, and that's what really matters. So executing on that glitch takes a couple times for most people. A really weird glitch, but this category is all about finishing the stages, not entering all the stages. So as long as you beat Orangutan Gang, regardless of how you got in, you will be satisfying the goals. Zigwigwi loses On Guard, and he's looking for him to come back. He does find him at the top. We have seen On Guard get away from players sometimes, and that was really early in the stage too, so that could have been quite bad.
Yeah, when the players go fishing and try to find On Guard, but On Guard just got off screen for so long that they disappeared, that can get like very bad for some players. You are usually like practicing with On Guard, and you know that you can get them back, but on some levels, it especially like Poison Pond, where we've seen that for 2 players last week, that got like super out of hand. So, but once you know precisely the layout of the levels, what you need to do to beat the game, it's alright. So Zigwigwi getting to the boss as Ghostdeath actually beat the boss, and Fireman is sitting pretty in first place. They got the best, the second best PB. Best PB is actually by Ghostdeath in 38:57 of those 4. And Fireman never got a very good race time. Their best race time so far is 45:30. So seeing them so doing so nice at the first half of the game is super great for them. Qualifier and Zigwigwi have to work on their DKC. They're just like, I would never recommend to take too many risks, but just get into the groove of thing and not miss the later high jumps they're going to attempt would be like huge for them.
Yeah, there's also some weird stuff, like if you pick up too many espresso tokens, there is a third one that's kind of unavoidable in Poison Pond, and that will trigger like a 2-minute unskippable minigame. Kerpweek doesn't have to worry about a game over, but Zigwigwi could be thinking about something like that. Neither player is playing nearly bad enough for these kinds of disasters to be the thing to really be concerned about at this point. But it's just Ghostdeath and Fireman are playing so well that it makes it look like there's something going wrong there. It's pretty incredible. Ghost Death is in a bit of a sticky situation. He's lost Diddy. He had that metal barrel trying to trigger an interesting movement glitch. Jumping off of slopes while carrying that middle barrel will give you a nice speed boost. It can lead to a weird triple bird bounce combo that's really fun to watch. So unfortunately we didn't get to see it. Ghost Death jumping back and forth on these ropes, trying to catch Fireman, who is in a very scary level here. Backtracking for Espresso, definitely the way to go, but Espresso levels are tough. The bird moves very fast, and you don't get to see a lot of what's ahead of you, so there's a lot of memorization. You're jumping to reach something that is 4 screens away, so it's very heavily memorization based, and if you mess up, you lose Espresso, and the dynamic of the level changes entirely, and it becomes just much more difficult, as well as something you probably haven't practiced. Is he going to make okay?
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I thought that he was going to be okay, but you never. When you see him rub up against the wall like that, okay, well, he's fine. He is to the exit after a little scare there.
That got me. Like, usually, I think the players are a bit lower, and you do not see that platform, but I do not know why. But I seeing Espresso like slowly flap their wing and get lower and lower in screen got me like thinking it's never going to work. But actually they got there. Oh, getting hit on the Croctopus chase here, but very early is actually pretty nice because they got a barrel there, and that is the longest level in the category, I think, and it's just super slow. There is no on guard, and it's all about movement optimization, and it's probably the harder and hardest level in the game to get perfect, because there are so many like movement optimization in water, as we've said before, that it's just like at that point it's so hard, and in the UD setting it's just about making it to the end. There is not much to be said about that, except that every player should be in the level at the same time. Everybody is pretty close together. Zigwigwi triggered the infinite jump glitch on the Engard level there, just to be sure they don't have to deal with those nasty orangutan at the end, and not having to memorize an extra level is pretty nice in itself. Like the UD is a long process. You have about like 5 hours of game to learn, and just like saving you the learning of a 2 minutes level is actually worth something.
Yeah, you cannot practice everything, you cannot learn everything. Melwest tries, he certainly tries, but you cannot do everything, so you have to figure out what you do, learn where you take your shortcuts, both literally and figurative. Fireman's still in the lead. It's pretty common to see all the players sync up in Croctopus Chase because it is such a long level, but I'm pretty sure it is Fireman, followed very closely behind by Ghost Death, and then maybe about 2 minutes or so, maybe not that long, but kind of close to that long for Zigwigwi. And Capriquig is about to enter the level soon, as well as found the skip in whatever level that's Torchlight? No. Ice Age Alley. No, that's...
No,
Slip Slide Ride. He still has all of Ice Age Alley left to go. That's what tripped me up. And he loses Diddy. So he is going to be able to get it back, and he's going to be able to get Espresso, but he is not.
Oh, that's an interesting choice. So he's going to set up the infinite jump. Yeah. That's why actually they got that lost Diddy. Okay, I was not sure, but all that was intentional. Never doubt the runners. So they're going to trigger the infinite jump, fly above the level. Well, infinite jump above the level, and well, Fireman is actually an entire Croctopus chase ahead. So that's about 2 minutes, and entering the first black stage, dark stage, where we are not turning the light on because it's lagging in the game so much. It's actually way faster to learn the level blind and just use the mincers and the Kremlins at the queue to where the platforms are. And Torchlight Trouble is already done for them, and they should entering Rope Ridge Rumble quickly. That level is one of the hardest to learn, I feel, just because of those tire wall jumps that can trip you up. So usually the runners are choosing a little bit of safety and trying to get there as they know how to, but sometimes we see some incredible jumps here and there.
Yeah, we might see something from Ghost Death. He seems to be the most comfortable with this game. Had an opportunity to maybe go for a tire roll there, but he's just carrying this barrel around, so it is obviously going with safety over. It is you cannot roll holding the barrel, and then the barrel will protect you from enemies. So, kind of the epitome of playing it safe there. Fireman on some of these tires. Rolling off of a tire it's not a framed perfect input by any means, but it's certainly got some finesse to it, and if you miss it, you're just going to go straight into a pit in almost every situation. So Ghost Death is going to play it safe here at the end of the level. Fireman actually went for a roll under the bees at the end of that level. That seems to be the one that players make a concession for. Something about it they just have a handle on, as both players move into the boss fight, the refight against Naughty. Really not too much going on. Capriquig finally into Croctopus Chase, and Zigwigwi is about halfway through, the end of Torchlight Trouble, so is one level back basically, and it's an average length level, so something like a minute behind Fireman and Ghost Death, and at most, who are moving into some of the hardest levels in the game now.
Yeah, things are getting serious, as we see Fireman actually dying intentionally. They want to trigger an infinite jump there, I think, and it did not get quite there. So they died again here, so they can get back both Diddy and Donkey Kong, so they can set up everything normally. So once again, infinite jumps. You want to die specifically, so you have that weird jumping animation of your lost Kong, then get back both Kongs, then trigger a jump off an enemy usually, and then you are set. But Ghost Death did the same thing, but in just the one try, so they took the lead. But once again, that shows how close they are together. Capriquig is taking Croctopus Chase super slow. They're done, but they got like a couple of stops here and there and lost even more time. But as long as they're doing, making progress, it's okay. So they're getting to the Torchlight Trouble level, and Ghost Death is already done with Old Drum Alley, and Fireman should be done soon. Ghost Death entering Trick Track Track, the fastest level in the entire game, the entire category, I think. Almost like sub 10 seconds, and it's already done.
Yeah, most of it is transition, fading in and fading out, basically. For that level. Fireman super jump is complete, has dropped back, I guess maybe like 40 seconds or something from Ghost Death, who was our clear leader. Moving on to Elevator Antics. This is a level that has been a problem for a number of players. We'll see the approach. We are going to see a jump here. Yeah,
everybody's setting the infinite jumps now. Usually the runners were going for the level normally, because the jump actually takes way more time than beating the level normally. But maybe Fireman is going to go through the level, because they did not lose the Kong. So yeah, they're going to beat the level and try to do that as fast as possible. And if they do so, that could mean they could catch up with Ghost Death just a little bit. It's a tricky level. It has a lot of cycles, a lot of bees, and a lot of stuff you have to dodge. But it's still a nice one. But yeah, it's super tricky. And that's the kind of level in a platformer. If you miss just a single jump, you're going to die, because of those elevators that are just above pits. So it's all about knowing exactly when you can jump and when you should wait.
Fireman was making me a little worried. Barely managed to make one of those elevators. The elevators are very frequently not screened when you need to be jumping on them, and so knowing that they're on a cycle and are not going to be in exactly the same place can be very nerve-wracking. You need to be consistent, and you need to have a certain amount of faith in what you're doing is going to make that platform be where you need it to be. And I think that is a big part of the reason why players tend to shy away from completing the level. But Fireman does very well, and definitely made up a lot of ground on Ghost Death. Both players still are leaders by a fair margin, dashing through Poison Pond with Enguard now. It's very nice to have Enguard back in the water level. Zigwigwi is showing off the super jump as well in this level, and Kupripik, who has fallen behind ever since World 3, basically. Some stuff happened in Vulture Culture and Forest Frenzy, and never really recovered since. Has been doing okay, but has lost even more time here and there. Is going to have to pick it up a little bit, either in this game or in some of the many other games that we still have left to play. Ghost Death is now done with Poison Pond. Zigwigwi has overjumped to the exit by quite a bit on Elevator Antics, but has finally come back down, and Fireman sees the exit sign, so he is just about done with Poison Pond as well. Loses On Guard, but there's nothing... There's a couple things, and he's back anyway, so reunited.
I think actually, like, picking back up On Guard there cost them time.
Yeah, I think
but,
so.
Like, it's just frames, but it's still funny. It was so close to the end there. Quick PB is fairly by quite a margin the worst of those four, but at 43:47. But their best race time is at 45:31, which is not too bad. Sadly, the other three runners, Fireman, Zigwigwi, and Ghostdeath, are doing great today. They're just like not stopping for anything. Ghostdeath so far got two best race times, and he's maybe going for third here. And it's like, on paper, Quick was not so far off, but right now they're probably aiming at a low 46 or a high 45, and everybody else is going for lower than that.
Ghost Death now done with Minecart Madness, which has the new sort of glitch with the infinite jump roll, not the infinite jump roll, just a regular jump roll that lets you just kind of weirdly roll in the air, that both players made use of for about half the stage. It's you're not able to finish the stage in that state, so you do have to get in the minecart for the end of it there. For some reason, I thought my fireman was still in the cart that rocketed off the bottom of the screen. Just something about it just made my heart sink for just a brief moment, but he is totally fine, as expected, with Ghost Death moving into some of this is maybe the hardest run of the stage. There's no super jump, you have to play it, you have to deal with these lights, you are in utter blackness. Even moving elevators are totally hidden from you in the dark, so speedrunning this stage either forces you to be incredibly consistent so that you are sure that those platforms are going to be in the same place doing the same thing, but that's a level of consistency that's not really feasible at reaching in the amount of time that these players have had with this game. So there's a lot of waiting to see where it is and adjusting. You're making a lot of small improvisations throughout this level. And even then, it is still tricky to execute on as Fireman misses a jump on the ropes. The ropes are the cycles they move on are very quick. The ropes are thin, you can't really see them. They spend a lot of time off screen, so you're not quite sure exactly where they are in their cycle. Are they going away from me off screen, or are they coming back to off screen?
Wow.
They're just trouble, man.
Yeah, and Fireman is not stopping as much as Ghost Death did, and once again, we've seen right now that just going for consistent strat is better off, especially on DKC. But Blackout Basement is the most fun-looking, enjoyable as a viewer. Oh no! Died on the final orangutan. Wow!
Oh man!
Those enemies, I tell you, they were the worst. They killed like so many players. Usually in the World 4 rather than right now. But yeah, Blackout Basement is the most fun-looking level when done perfectly, like flawlessly. You see just the runners go, like the light is blinking, but they don't care at all. You feel like they could do it blind. But Fireman dying a couple of times here actually cost them a lot. Zigwigwi is going to pass them right now.
And not only does he, lose that time, but he is now stuck with Donkey Kong in a level where you're kind of just playing the game, really. So when you're relying on your ability to do what Diddy does, you rely on that more in this situation. He finally has Diddy back, not to mention having both Kong should he take another hit by that orangutan at the end. The hitbox on the orangutan is the barrel it holds in front of it and then way behind it while it winds up. There's actually an active hitbox over that whole thing that can be very tricky to dodge if you're just not ready for it, and that's what happens. So Fireman does finish the stage now, but I saw him finishing with Donkey, so he did take a hit at the end. Very unfortunate. He's going to get Diggy back right away, though, so only a very minor time loss.
Once again goes this on the level where we've seen just one infinite jump roll. We've seen it once during the entire season. It was 3 months ago, and it shows how the UD meta is played. Usually the runners learn like the game like hardcore, just go for every strat, try to learn everything, and then like the everybody understands that if you want to get consistent at 10 games in a row, you have to cut off some stuff, and usually the trickiest or the most precise tricks get pulled off, and we just see like the consistent runs of everyone. And it's very interesting to me because maybe if you are a new player to the UD, maybe if you join us next season, that's something. There's something to be learned there, and just going for safety right off the bat and trying not lose too much time learning trickier stuff would be worth it, but obviously you'd be missing on learning some super cool stuff you can show off. So it's all a trade, and obviously everybody is just doing that for fun and for having new learning experiences. So being able to learn those tricks is pretty cool. Still, fairly long level at the end here. Ghost Death is done as Fireman and Zigwigwe are entering the level. You need to wait for that platform and grab all the fuel barrels that are on screen, because you actually need everything if you want to make it to the end. Zigwigwe getting to the checkpoint here. Fireman is just a few dozens of seconds behind. And Ghost Death is training, moving forward, is going to ignore Rambi, sadly. Best animal companion in the game, but is just used for an infinite jump setup, and see it.
It's the equivalent of jumping off the Yoshi and it goes in the pit and
exactly.
You go to the end. It's basically Rambi sucks, man. Actually controlling, I like Rambi thematically. I like running through enemies with Rambi. I don't like having to platform with Rambi.
Oh no, you don't want to use it, but he looks great.
No, yeah, just look at it. It's very pretty to look at. Yeah, he controls like a rhinoceros should control, I guess. So props for that, but no one wants to deal with that. Tanked Up Trouble, we saw Zigwigwe go for the jump roll, the infinite jump roll. It is incredibly hard. There's some setup required to manipulate the bird to be in the right place, and then you've got a frame perfect input to make use of it. And it's the kind of thing you can try because there's no penalty for missing it in most situations. If you really commit to it, you might just roll off an edge or something, but it is possible to get to a level where you could go for it in a race and not be punished by it. So we look for it, we hope for it, and we pray for it, but it was nice to see Zigwigwe try. His setup was a little off, is a half-hearted attempt at it, and it looks like we're probably not going to get to see it today. Kerpweek has been playing very safe, so I doubt, as the last runner to have a chance to attempt it, that we would see it from them. They are in Blackout Basement, I think is the name of the level. Is horrible, dark, lights on, lights off level. We're seeing Fireman ready to jump off of Rambi here in Manic Mincers. Goodbye. Ghost Death showing off yet another super jump. There's a lot of these at the end of the game. Yeah. Misty Mine is one where this is a safety concession. It is technically faster to play this level, though it is incredibly difficult to execute on the strats in this level. There's lots of enemies to roll off of, lots of opportunities for extend rolls, but almost all of them are very difficult, especially because it is the end of the game. So pretty much, I don't think we've seen anyone ever play that level. I think even though it is technically faster to play through it, I think everyone right away immediately identified it as something they would rather just jump over with this glitch.
Because they're taking their time to set up another infinite jump there. Fireman actually passed Zigwigwe again in Tanked Up Trouble, so Don't know exactly what happened to Zigwigwit there, but they're themselves on Misty Mines, setting up the high jump there, waiting for the snake to get just in position so you can land on them and get flying above the level. So Zigwigwit is going to enter Misty Mines right now, lose DD again. You see a lot of intentional losing and picking back up Kongs there. It's totally normal. And Zigwigwit is setting themselves up, waiting for the snake to land, and bam, you're sent up flying. Ghost Death ignoring entirely that level, which is, I wonder what the time loss due to that safety measure here is, because not triggering the barrels is actually lagging the console a little bit less and saving you time. So if you were to play safe through the level but try still to go as fast as possible, maybe that would not be worth it. So it's an interesting like trade-off, and entering one of the most deadly level in our category during the UD6, because if you're not like super ready to play through those platforms that move back and forth, and if you're going for the risky jump rolls, you might die, and the Kremlin on the platforms might bump you off and send you to the pit. So it's a risky one. You want to know exactly how to deal with all those enemies, and experienced runners right now should be fine. But we've seen a lot of death and a lot of stuff, but Ghost Death is trailing in first place right now.
Yeah, he is. He's got a really safe and consistent strategy with this level, as he hesitates, couldn't decide whether he wanted to jump on this platform or walk off onto it, and he ended up, just doing something a little weird there. Wiggled left and right and died. So that is a pretty nasty setback, but I like what he's doing in the level when he's actually playing the level, where he's picking up barrels and just using them on these armadillos to get them out of the way. They move really fast. They have a kind of a tricky startup animation before they get going that makes them kind of hard to deal with, but when you've got that barrel, it'll just run straight into you. It's something that Ghost Death has been pretty keen to use in a lot of situations that are of course required to get rid of these crushes that are on these platforms. And he is not going to make that jump with Diddy, but he is going to be alive with Donkey. This is not where you want to be, but he's not dead, so let's see if he can finish strong here. He has still got a lead by a fair margin, but the other players are starting to be in the same level as him, and he is going to finish Platform Perils, maintain this lead heading into the final set of boss fights.
Yeah, so we are looking at 2 minutes and a half still, like for Necky's refight and then King K. Rool, but they're actually looking great and not too far behind PB, maybe a minute behind, looking at a low 40 time, and that would be raise PB by quite a lot, and Ghost Death actually like practice on the past weeks paying off greatly right now. Fireman and Zigwigwit having to play safe through Platform Pearls. You do not want to wiggle and fall to your death, but Zigwigwit is actually like doing a lot of jump rolls and not slowing down, so they're just going for it. Buck Wild, they know they lost time on inertia and need to maybe make backup sometimes, but playing great and it's working for them, so it's all good.
Ghost Death with 38 minutes on the clock is in the King K. Rool fight. His PB is a 38.57. This fight's a little longer than that, but it is going to be very close to a PB. This is shaping up to be a great run from Ghost Death, and it's I just remembered how long those straight credits are. So it is going to be not quite as close as I want it to be, but it is still going to be a great run. Looking for one more hit to trigger the second phase of the fight. Zigwigwit and Fireman both in this very scary Platform Perils levels. Fireman also did not get enough of a roll to clear that jump, so taking the same hit that Ghost Death did. He is now stuck with Donkey for the end of the level. Zigwigwit doing a nice swag finish there, hitting one enemy, which triggers the throwing of the barrel on the second enemy, and he is going to be in second place for now, moving into Necky's Revenges. Fireman is playing so careful. There was literally nothing between him and the end of the level, but he still hesitated for a moment. Just really not comfortable with Donkey Kong, and you can't blame him. but he is now going to be moving on to the boss fights with both Kongs again. Here's Ghost Death with 39:17 on the clock.
Yeah, chat is pointing out that Zigui is probably on PB pace, and with a PB of 44 minutes and 12 seconds, they're by quite a margin actually on PB pace, looking at high 42 time, I'd say, if I math with the King Carol fight is alright. And Ghost Death down with the fake credit. It was actually not the end, not a surprise for anyone at that point in the season, I hope. And
we'll do it one more time, and sometime in October we'll do that joke.
It's a nice one. Those fake credits are just like pretty well put together, in my opinion. With the clearly the joke is on the players that would believe that there is no final phase, but here it is done for Ghost Death, getting his Nintendo labeled giant banana back. There was the final one he was looking forward for to get back, and they're done with a final time of 40 minutes and 20 seconds or more or less, which is like great, and that probably will put them back in first place. They were 9 points behind Quick, so that's about a minute and a half in DKC, and that's clearly more than less than they got right now.
Yeah, pretty sure the math is correct. We can always rely on the leaderboard after we finish up here, and that will tell the tale for sure. Zigui and Fireman have been very close for a long time, trading the lead a little bit back and forth. At some point, Zigui, maybe as far back as World 4, I think, was starting to really make ground on Fireman, ran into trouble on some of those ice levels, and then they gave us an interesting show on the left half of the screen. They continue to give us such a show for just a little longer, as Quick is rolling boldly through 3 clumps, I think those are, going off of the name I remember from the Donkey Kong TV show with the CG animation. I'm pretty sure he was a main character. So he sticks out a little bit, but all 3 of them are just regular enemies, defeated and moved on without any fanfare. Unlike King K. Rool, who gets all the fanfare in the world, the best fanfare. I've been in love with the Smash Brothers remix of this Gangplank Galleon fight that came out ever since he was announced. Zigui is done with 41:50-ish time. Fireman with a 42:08. Very close together. Still very solid times from these players. Fireman's 42.
Over 2 minute.
What is
PB,
his PB?
Over 2 minute PB for Zigui, and Fireman's PB is 41:01, so about a minute behind, which is actually great for such a long game, especially when it did not go so well on every single level. But probably that's not something that's too much to ask, like everything going perfectly on a longer game, just being able to go through DKC with a decent time, not dying too much, not ending up being too frustrated would be great enough for the players. Obviously you want to go as fast as possible and get the best time you can, but just passing the game with about 40-41 minute time is great in and out itself. So Quick, looking at the final 2 bosses, the Neki refight should not be too bad. Just have to wait and deal with the RNG. The only bit of RNG in this game is the Neki height at which they appear, but except that everything is set up perfectly throughout the entire run. Oh, and losing Didi there! Oh wow!
I also don't think he got the hit, so the height maybe played a role. You do get the hit a little faster when it is high, so in that it is favorable, but it is a little harder to get that hit. You need to approach at the right time and the right angle, and he didn't quite get it. So he is stuck with a donkey, and he's just heading straight into... You do get the barrel, I wasn't sure. Into Gangplank Galleon. He does have to, if he wants these extra height, and honestly it's more just about the familiarity with the character and how it controls more than anything. if he wants it, he's going to have to wait for that switch animation. So he doesn't want to lose that time. He's going to stick it out with Donkey Kong. It's really not too big of a deal, but okay, he is, when the cannonballs come and you want to find your cue is to dodge between them. He doesn't want to mess around with that Donkey Kong sprite, so he's going to eat the very minor time loss for the switch as he's looking for some more hits now.
I like the credits passing by on Fireman Zigwigwi's screen, so you can learn all the enemies' names if you have issues. I just got a couple of names set back for the next DKC race we are going to have. It's going to be in 2 weeks for the last chance tournament, and Kapupuk is just nice dodging those cannonballs. It's been a while since we've seen someone die on DKC. That's the biggest commentary curse I can throw out right now, but I will dare to do so. Please, Kapupuk, don't.
That's downright evil. Yeah. I can't believe it.
I'm sorry. I just
There's
realized
no
I
worse
was
death
saying
in the game than
yeah.
King K. Rool.
And yeah, I'm sorry, but it's.
He's gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah, I feel terrible right now. 45 minutes and 30 seconds. Their quick best DKC time is on races is 45:30, as said before. So it's far behind their PB, but it's about what they could hope for. They died quite a lot, and clearly they have a PB at their fingertip. They can do way better if they keep on grinding DKC. For a lot of players, the season is soon to be ended. It's almost there, and some players are never going to play some of the games ever again. But they know they can do better. And if Quick ever grinds the game again, they can get probably sub 42 or sub 41 PB with the strat they're currently using. But it's to be seen maybe another day. So DKC is done, and that was a nice set of races. Zigwigwi is getting a second PB today. Ghostdeath getting very close to PB, beating their best race time by quite a margin, and Fireman was in the lead with Quick before, right after Inertia. So let's see what happened with that third race.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see this leaderboard. We predicted Ghostdeath was going to jump into the lead, and we were right, just 8 points ahead of Fireman. The two have kind of differentiated themselves. I like the pretty patterns that they're painting on our leaderboard. They split into two pairs that seem to do better in Cuphead and worse at Inertia, and now two people from each pair have jumped ahead in DKC. Very good times from some of these players, but it is going to be Ghostdeath and Fireman who are about 20 points ahead of their opponents, Zigwigwi and Kapupuk. So far, it's still quite close. 32 points separating first from last, and again, the cutoff is really all about getting into second place. 2 of our 4 players today will qualify for grand finals to take place October. I have it here. The 13th.
13th and 14th, yeah, Saturday and Sunday. So grand finals where the best 8 players are going to play all together. So 2 from today. It's going to be a quarter of our pool, and it's going to be 2 of Ghostdeath, Fireman, Zigwigwi, and Kapupuk. They've been playing out of their mind today, but we are going to take a short break, just 10 minutes, so everybody can get refreshed and ready for the 2 upcoming games, Spectrable and Shovel Knight. Spectrable is the fun and weird ball game, so it's going to be intense, and Shovel Knight needs no introduction. It's been one of the most intense game in the UD6, so you do not want to miss that. And obviously, it's going to be just the first half of our tournament. On tomorrow's same time, 11 AM, we are going to have the second half with the other 5 games. So see you in 10 minutes, and we'll be right back. And we're back after that short break. I hope every runner, Quick, Fireman, Ghostess, and Zigwigwi are refreshed because we are entering strong the second half for today, being Spectrable, easy and nice ball game, which can, you know, sometimes it's not so great for everybody, but it's not too bad usually. And Shovel Knight, which is a great game, but a super tough speedrun.
Yeah, it is. It is huge. It is long. There's, you know, it's taking inspiration from NES platformers, and it's like twice as long as some of the longer NES runs. It is just completely dense, with tricks and strategies, and it's been something that has been very challenging for the runners. Most of our runners today are quite good, all things considered, at Shovel Knight, but it is Zigwigwi who is 30-ish points back from the next closest competitor in that game, 25 points back from Qualifier. Fireman and Ghost Death very evenly matched at 116, 159, so that is going to be on the horizon. But up next, it is going to be Spectre Ball. This is a game where most of the players are evenly matched. It's actually Fireman who is the weakest at this game, and weakest is in gigantic quotation marks here because he has a 199 point PB, and we try to set the 200 point mark at the it's faster than the world record was when we started. So it is a great time, but competing against slightly greater runners today. So this is the game where Fireman is going to be hoping to keep pace. Overall, this is a sort of a weaker. It's just Spectre Ball that is Fireman's weakness of these games. He's going to be worried about Metal Slug tomorrow, and he's quite strong on Shovel Knight and DKC. So it is Zigwigwi and Quik who are going to be playing from behind on these 5 games today, and will have a bit more of an advantage in the later 5 games. So it is Spectre Ball and tomorrow that Fireman is a little worried about. We'll see if he can keep his second place position. That's kind of the big important one. Top 2 advance to grand finals.
Yep.
So he is the one with the target on his back for now. But it's not like they're specifically targeting him. Maybe that's not a good metaphor to use. Everyone is racing everyone else.
Yep.
And Spectre Ball is a weird game to race.
Okay, to be fair, it's a bad game. It's not a good game either in like software development. It has big bugs, and I would not blame like the devs. It's playable. It's an okay state. But when you're speedrunning a game, you are pushing to its limit, and you will often get your ball stuck in a pillar when it's not. Speedrunners are happy with glitches when they're useful, and where they just like kill your runs, obviously it's not so great. So it's quite bugged. The level design is flawed, but that's actually a good thing in speedrunning because you can like cut off a lot of stuff. But it's all weird, and it's a great example of what happens when a game has a very small community. If you there are speedrunning game and you are just alone speedrunning it, you do want to get more people involved, just because that will get you like a new set of eyes, more practice in the game, more tricks to be learned, and you will gain a lot of time. So the world record at the start of the UD season was 10:04, and there was only like 1 runner in the game, and the UD came in, brought in 100 more plus runners, and obviously the world record got smashed. We discovered new tricks, new routes, and it's a nice experience. Sadly, the game is not that great, except for like the competition we are seeing right now. So Fireman is setting up his little double jump here, and here we go on the Tropical Isle, the first level. It's a weird physics-based game. It's all that, like, starting with Mobile Madness, I think, we have a lot of weird ball games, which implies a lot of stuff. Usually you control a ball, and it's going to move freely in all the directions. It's going to have a lot of momentum. It's usually very physics-based, and it's all weird, but enjoy the ride and enjoy all the skips we are going to see, like right now on the Google screen, throughout the game.
The skips are, it's basically executing on skip to skip in this game. One that doesn't really even look like a skip is what Zguigui is going to do here on this pyramid, and it's going to look a lot easier than it actually is. Getting their speed and keeping it after that jump into that slope is very tricky, and there is a bit of finesse once you get to the top of the slope as well. Zguigui executing on that second try. We'll see how it goes for Puig. Yep, does get up there. Ghost Death now. And not quite enough, so he's going to need another try. This is... players have been fairly consistent with this, but we have seen players get caught up on this particular thing a little bit, and it looks like Fireman is having a lot of trouble on this pyramid now.
Zguigui missed the weird bouncy spring there a couple of times. Finally got to the push button into the next set of jumps and into that huge skip. You do note that the runners are not even anymore taking the checkpoint. Zguigui didn't. Puig does, but that set them back at least 5 seconds behind. So Zguigui is looking great right now, starting the snowy peaks. That's the level where we've seen the most time loss because of that weird fence here. It's pretty easy to get stuck into that, but no problem for Zguigui. They skipped at least 2 checkpoints, but they're maybe getting one there, I'm never sure, and entering that weird square corkscrew there where you have to go through it, sadly. And it looks easy when you are not playing it, but there's a lot of momentum, and doing those squared tight 90 degrees curves is actually way harder than it looks, but Zguigui makes it look easy right now.
Yeah, there's a tiny amount of okay, almost going too far, using the double jump to save him, and is going to wait to charge it back up so that he can go straight to the exit. Very good recovery there by Zguigui. I'm sure his heart leapt into his throat like it did for ours just then. But yeah, the corkscrew, you don't really transfer a lot of your speed from one direction to another. You're kind of hitting a hard stop and then going again in another direction, and so it's hard to manage your speed in both directions, stopping one direction, accelerating the other direction. If you're just a little bit off, you'll start to find yourself off kilter, and it's very easy to start kind of trying to round a square corner that doesn't always work out. Really tricky section here in the windy something, but Sky Ruins is what it's called actually. There's this sequence here that is beautiful to watch when it goes well, and it looks like he is going to collide with the half pipe on the way up. So this is a bit of a wall, and it's allowed Puig and Ghost Death to both catch up, if not surpass. Puig is done, does execute on it there on the right side, in the middle of the screen. Ghost Death took something a little safer and consistent, playing some of the level, went for something aggressive at the end and didn't quite get it.
That's commentary curse for you right now. They just made it, and you said they passed the issue and just got stuck right at the end. It's okay. They got back on track right now, and Sky Ruins costing a lot of times to both Zguigui and Ghost Death, especially Zguigui. But Puig going through the level flawlessly and got to the end actually very quickly.
Fireman has not even yet to join the other players on this level. Has been just there, barely finishing. Snowy Ruins can finally start to catch up now.
If you've never played Spectral Ball, please do find like a copy of it on Steam. But buying
it's like $1 or something.
Yeah, it's not too expensive. And play through Sky Ruins casually. It's hard to tell how much the level is. It's not that, because we cannot insist on everything that's skipped in that game because we are skipping like everything, literally. But Skyrims, especially at the end, you have those weird slopes and those weird towers, and you are supposed to go down the tower, find a trigger, open the door, and then get to the next slope to get into the next tower. And that takes usually like it will take you about 5 to 10 minutes casually, and it's just a second in the speedrun because with the double jump ability, which is just an option, you can play with or without the double jump. It's so fast. It's incredible. But anyway, in the towering mountain, Quick making great progress. We've seen a couple of different routes there. In that level, the meta has changed quite a bit in Towering Mountain in the past races, and we'll see how well that goes. Foka Quick charging up the speed boost and going back to it to get double speed, and with the double jump you can skip entirely that door. Very nice.
Fireman had a very clean first half of Sky Ruins. Which was absolutely necessary after the snowy peaks went so poorly. It was a huge opportunity to make ground on his opponents, but it looks like he is going to reset after a pretty nasty death. The checkpoints get pretty far apart in some of the later levels. And this particular section in Sky Ruins is notorious. I mean, certainly there would be plenty more checkpoints if you weren't skipping everything.
Yeah.
But on the route, that's just kind of the way this goes. Quick not quite getting enough height, has to go around here. These are the kind of time losses where, you know, it's a very small mistake, not quite getting enough to get up on top of that ledge that turns into like a 5-second detour. And these are the kind of things that will separate, you know, first from second in this game. But it's really about surviving, you know, not resetting from checkpoints that are way back. Those are the major problems in this level. Pretty much everyone has struggled. It wouldn't be unreasonable for someone to have finished at this point, and we're just now seeing our first player reach the final stage.
Okay, so sadly, everything we've done so far doesn't really count because of the final skip in the game. So it's been so much better recently. Like, everybody's doing great right now, but in the past, like especially in the Joy tournament, whatever the lead was entering the space construct, the looping skip is so big and is so tricky and finicky to actually execute on that the order was completely changed. Oh wow, nice skip. We do not see that often, but Quick actually double charging on the boost there, gets the skip here, and that's a big one because he does not go through the squiggly line, and gets the skip first try, as I was saying how hard it was. And
yeah, this looks good. He's gonna get the top
God.
checkpoint and everything. This is a beautiful space construct from Quick. Just flying in the face of everything you were saying. We'll see. I can never tell how a player is lined up on this exit. He doesn't even need the double jump. He just gets right in there.
Just that level, it's hard for it to go better than that. Quick is going to sadly have to restart from checkpoint here, and that actually might be the ticket for Quick to the grand finals, like right now, because being the only one to be on the end of Space Construct, at the end of the Spectral here, even before anybody else started the skip, Zigwig is in second place, but so far behind. The time is ticking. It's 3 seconds per point. It's crazy.
I think this has been one of the closer games for races. We've seen a lot of people all in Space Construct at the end, and it's been very fun to watch. This is the first time I've seen Quick well past finished. We're seeing that final frame, and someone else is still on Towering Mountain, and the other players are just barely getting to Space Construct. Zigwigwi just now finally going to finish at 10:34, which is a good time, but it's not as good as the amazing time from Quick. Ghost Death also now setting up for this final jump that Quick made look so easy. I think Zigwigwi also actually got out there on the first try.
And Ghost Death is going to have it on second try, so clearly everybody worked on that. I don't know what happened, what's the setup. I need to maybe come back to Spectrable and relearn it. Nice checkpoint here, by the way, so even if the end does not go so well, Ghost Death is set, and Fireman is just starting Space Construct, and that's going to cost to Ghost Death, like, marginally to Zigwigwi, a little bit to Ghost Death, and so much for Fireman. It's at least it goes the opposite way of the current ranking. Like, Ghost Death and Fireman are currently first place and second place, so it's going to damper a little bit how much they lose, but still, Quick just blowing my mind away right now.
Yeah, we're gonna see this leaderboard sort of scrunch in a little bit. I'm not, with the third and fourth finishing ahead of first and second. I'm really not sure exactly what's going to happen. We'll be very curious to see. Fireman is trying his best to make sure that he can, sort of salvage what he can from this run. He's going to take a big hit, especially compared to Quick. And this is a problem. It was not a problem really for any of the other players, but it has historically been a huge skip that has been a problem for a lot of players. Fireman getting its second try is actually quite good, though he's in a weird middle ground here where he needs to decide if he's going to go up top or drop down below. Ghost Death dropped below. Fireman felt he was close enough to go high, and I think this was probably a little faster. It's definitely not as scary as dropping all the way down to that extended door platform thing.
The scariest thing that it's what Zigwigwi did. They also got to that point, and oh no! Wow, they did not feel like they were fast enough to get to the final platform. But Zigwigwi got to that middle ground, and instead of triggering any checkpoint, just said like, let's go, and got directly to the ramp with no checkpoint enabled. Oh wow, that angled final platform is so tricky. It's incredible because when you are in space and you have only that at a reference point, you cannot tell what's downward or upward. So the final platform being angled tricks you into thinking it's actually not angled, and you are going to overshoot it so often just because of that. So it's it shows experience seeing all those runners getting exactly to the end. And yeah, as expected, everything is scrambled quite a lot actually right now.
Fireman drops from second down to fourth. Ghost Death from first to second. Capriquic, I'm not sure, actually wait, I can check where he was. He was in fourth and is now in first, leapfrogging all the other players. So no one is in the... Wait, no, Zagwigwi is third, but big movement from all the other players. After that spectral ball, we can see the times running the gamut from 9.5 minutes to 13 minutes. And this was a short game, so it's 3 seconds per point. Big point differential. And unfortunately for us as viewers, with the runners who were further behind being the ones to knock it out of the park on Spectral, that means even though we saw such big movement on the leaderboards, everyone's still pretty close. About 14 points separating first from last. As we head into our final game of the day, it is going to be Shovel Knight.
Okay, so Shovel Knight, Fireman looks pretty, with a PB at 55-56. They have the best PB of the bunch, and they are about 40 points behind second place. And that's exactly how much lead they have over Quick's Shovel Knight. So if you add theoretically all the PBs of all the players on the current leaderboard, Zigwigwi should come up second or third. Quick should be like close to, still first, but very close to both Ghost Death and Fireman. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Fireman, Ghost Death might be the best players of the bunch, like consistency-wise. Their PB is at 56.08. Their best race time is at 57.07, which is fantastic as a race time for Shovel Knight for such inexperienced players. Once again, we announced the game that was back in April, and none of those were played the game before, so it's all about learning such a long and intense game. The category is any person, so there's a lot of choice involved on your route and a lot of risk taken on the checkpoint you'll break or not, so it's going to be interesting to see how well that goes for all the players.
Yeah, if there are no deaths, then everyone gets to follow their route exactly as they planned, and if there is a death, you need to figure out if you can get your money back and how much money it is, and can you afford to miss it, or do you need to get it, and if you do miss it, where can you get the money back? Gold becomes a big factor that basically in a race, in a speed run you'll reset if you die, but in a race you have to find a way to make it happen, and it can be quite costly. Obviously because of the time lost, obviously because maybe you broke a checkpoint or something and you got sent back a far ways, but those mistakes can be compounded with this gold mechanic and the routes and the items you need to buy with that gold. So it is it's a game where we've seen players struggle a lot. It's been a long, I think when we first did Shovel Knight, and our expectations were, we're not sure exactly where the players are going to be, and we were quite happily surprised with what people were able to do. But it's been the story with Shovel Knight the past couple of times that it has been a major problem for at least one runner, if not more. And it's always something I'm worried about, and if I'm worried about it, the players are definitely going to be at least a little bit worried about it. For now, though, it's probably going to be a pretty big advantage for Ghost Death and Fireman. And Capriquig also is not too far behind. So Ziguigui has done amazing today. Has multiple PBs. Is currently in third because of Spectre Ball a little bit, but it was mainly inertia that got him. But on the games where he did well, he did literally his best. So he is playing well today, and I gotta hope that this is going to continue in Shovel Knight. He is definitely well posed for a PB here.
Yeah. Their name was PB Please on Shovel Knight save file, so they are going for that. We've seen last week Ziguigui's was incredibly solid at the start of the game, like the first 3 levels, no problem, and getting into the later stage of the game, they were a little bit inexperienced, and if they build on that, if they practice the second half of the game, it should be clear that they can get sub-hour. If they only practice in no reset settings, obviously that gives you more practice at the start rather than the second half of the game, and it would be about the same story, so we'll see.
Fireman dies setting up the bubble wrap on the dragon. That is a pretty weird death to take. The checkpoint is kind of far back. I mean, the checkpoints are pretty close together in the first level, as far apart as they can be. That was kind of it.
It's at least it doesn't cost money, so it's okay. It's probably maybe one of the best deaths you can take. I'm super weirded out by the fact that everybody's still going. Well, a lot of players are still going for the bubble wrap. It costs time to a lot of players, and we've seen the runners actually cut off some of better, more interesting tricks, and it's very difficult, and I don't know, it doesn't look like a wise choice to me, but maybe those guys are way better than me at Shovel Knight and speedrunning in general, so what do I know? But still, I'm not sure. Anyway, Black Knight, it was a struggle for Ziguigui, Capriquig and Ghost Death in the lead right now. Fireman is having a lot of trouble doing his shovel cancel right now, but get there, get the Black Knight stuck on the border of the screen and finally down.
The shovel cancels are a key part of pretty much anything involving an enemy that doesn't die in one hit in this game. Basically using attacking in the air and then being able to jump out of your attack as you land to cancel your attack animation. And it does require a rhythm. There is a very specific rhythm to getting those shovel cancels, and there's a bit of leeway on Black Knight 1 anyway. There's a later Black Knight fight where there is almost no leeway at all, but it is it's fairly doable. It was something I was able to, get after just messing around with it for a couple minutes. So it's not the great sign that so many players struggled with getting that lockdown on Black Knight. Fireman taking ahead at the start of Pridemore Keep. You need to really hustle to get past that first cycle, and I guess he felt like he had it, but he didn't. One of the keys is jumping at the start, actually. Anytime you come to a rest, either the start of a level or coming up off a ladder, Shovel Knight will take a bit of time to accelerate from standing still, and jumping will get you right into top speed. It is just one of those small little optimizations that have increasingly become less important than simply not dying in this game.
Yeah, I like how Shovel Knight is close to Mega Man. What you've said applies precisely to Mega Man games on the NES, and all structurally the game feels like a Mega Man, and that's the little details that I like. Zigwigwi is having a great Pridemore Keep, got the gentle hop right at the start, and is actually catching up with Ghost Death, actually passing them right now. Even when they have had like 15 seconds, they were 15 seconds behind right at the start of the level. So once again, they are doing incredible, and I'm very surprised seeing how well they played, and their PB is only at 1 hour and 2 minutes. Their best race time is at 1 hour and 11 minutes, which is not fast enough to get any points during a tourney. So you want to be faster than 1:05. That's mandatory. If any of those players don't beat the game in under 65 minutes, it's going to score 0 points, and that's going to almost end any hope they have to get on top 2.
I think it will. We've seen situations where, when we had 8 players and narrowed it down to top 4, there was a bit of wiggle room. Some players were not quite gonna, maybe not even finish some other game. It was not the death sentence that I think it is this time around. These guys are all very good at pretty much all the games now. 100 points. We've seen. I don't think the players have been more than 30 points apart from first and last this whole tournament over these first 4 and now 5th game. 100 points is not. It's too much to lose on top of however many points that are going to pick up for finishing. So King Knight down for Ghost Death, Zigwigwi, Kerpwig, Fireman entering this fight now as well. He's doing a pretty good job with the shovel cancels, so I think he's going to be able to find these last few hits before the confetti. There it is. Yeah. If you're really good, you can get him before the dash, but it's so hard. Any boss fight in this game is so precise. With the shovel cancels, King Knight has like a double pogo you can do on his high jump. It is extremely hard to execute at the highest level in this game.
The boss fights are definitely where the difference between good players and the world record is going to be set. You have a lot of time to lose or to gain on those. Thankfully, the game has a nice little tool to get you exactly on the boss you want if you want to practice them, but still, in a run, it's going to be an incredible hard decision to take. Do you go for the best strat or do you go for safety? And some boss mix add in the mix RNG, so especially Spectre Knight is going to have like some different patterns and different behaviors, and you're going to deal with those. And every boss fight is risky because you do not have so much health, and might cost you up to, I don't know, a minute if it really goes south. And the game ends with a boss rush in a random order with a lot of random behaviors. It's scary. The boss fights are definitely the most scary thing in the entire run, but so are the spikes. You get one shot by the spikes. Do note that you do not get hit if you touch the side of the spikes. They're going to stop you but not kill you, which is a nice change of pace compared to the older games. I compared the game to Mega Man, and that would not be the case. But except that you do not want to fall into any pit, and you do not want to touch any spike. The average enemy, the biggest risk is that it would push you and knock you back into a pit. That's pretty much what you risk. The HP situation is usually okay for everyone, I feel.
Yeah, it's a little worrisome with only 4 hits. But the earlier stages are not going to do too much damage to you. Fireman's trying to prove me wrong to 1.5 here. But there is some food waiting for him here, and he is going to stop to pick it up. It is later on, particularly the boss rush at the end of the game, where health starts to be a concern. Players have options of upgrading their health to certain degrees. I think we're going to see everyone pick up at least 6 and probably 10. And there's also some choices to make whether or not you pick up the Conjurer's Coat, which is a tool that doubles your MP supply, so you get to use a lot of your sub-weapons, particularly the Propeller Dagger, Dust Knuckles, Dash Around, go faster. Very good for obvious reasons, but you take an extra half pip of damage for every hit, so it drastically lowers your survivability. For a lot of players, it's worth it. Some players prefer to have the consistency, just try to get a mana upgrade or two and make do with that. For now, we're into the Spectre Knight fight for 3 players. Caprique goes to Zigwigwi. Zigwigwi in the lead, very far down, is looking for these last 4 hits and is probably going to be able to find them right there.
Very nice positioning from them during that long pattern. You want to know exactly how the boss behaves. There is like a set of behaviors. You know how it's going to cycle down, but depending on your the way you hit them, it's going to be left or right. And when it does the big Thais loop, it might appear on the bottom left or right corner, which can cost you a lot of time or save you a lot of time if you are lucky. So back on the dream, so at the end of each big section, you have 3 big sections in the game, you have that weird dream sequence where the goal is to gather money as well as to die as fast as possible, or just try to gather money and wait for Shield Knight to fall slowly down towards you. It's really interesting because optimizing that sequence is super tough. But in a UD, that's not something you want to be bothered with. You really just want to gather money, get there, and you will end up losing maybe 10 seconds, but that doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, it's a get rich and die trying situation with these dream sequences. Caprique. There's a nice little optimization to dying as well, catching Shield Knight in the middle of the screen. That is an incredibly minor concern for our players who are much more worried about getting the gold they need. But top runners will go for some pretty ridiculous mid-air catches and trying to get hit off of certain enemies to be way up at the top of the screen for now. Players stopping in town for doing a bit of shopping, picking up some health upgrades, as well as the Chaos Orb is here. We are going to be seeing that from Zigwigwi, and I'm pretty sure Ghost Death as well. Caprique is hovering over the Mole Knight stage, and I think he wanted to do shopping and forgot about it, so he is coming back to do this. That is an unfortunate little bit of time lost there.
I don't know what happened, whether they were like, I have 7k, should I go for it right now or not? And that's the problem you might have if you are speedrunning a game and learning different routes. To be honest, it's probably smart in Shovel Knight to start with a safer route and then switch to something more aggressive, but during like the switch period you might be confused with what's happening for you. So it's always like a trade, and that's why you need like practice race, and that's why we put off on during the UD so many tournaments, fun ones and serious ones for qualifying. Caprique gets directly to 6 HP, so did Ghost Death, Zigwigwi and Fireman. They all got the Chaos Orb. The only difference in routing is Zigwigwi got 40 MP in hand right now, which mean they are going to have to break more checkpoints to get to the 3k they need to buy the Dust Knuckles.
Yeah, there's also some extra money to be found in some of these blocks if you know where to get it, like these gray blocks there, and he's going to have enough time to double back and get some from this pile, so he is really milking this level. His ride's leaving though, he is going to lose some time. He could have made progress a little faster there, getting a little cheeky with some of that gold collection, but you'd really rather have too much gold than not enough in this situation.
I was kind of scared the beetle would leave off without them. I was like, hey, you need to catch your ride, but actually it waits for you. So it was okay, just losing a little bit of time. And once again, Zigwigwis does great usually on the first level, so I'm pretty happy to see them actually losing time at the start to set up for a better later half of the game. So it's actually the smart choice, I'd say. Oh, wow, my heart.
He jumped right before he got hit, so he had enough height to correct in the air. I'm not sure if he would have actually ended up in that pit. It would have been really close, much closer than he would have liked. But for now, is literally on the same screen, doing the same jump as Ghost Death, just half a second ahead. He is going to go ahead and break this checkpoint for the extra money he needs before he picks up those Dust Knuckles.
Okay, so they have exactly 290 extra, when Ghost Death has 3k and 700, not even having to break the checkpoint. Breaking that checkpoint actually scares the crap out of me, because it's like, it's pretty likely someone would die there, like eventually, not right now, not cursing anyone, but it is a big time loss if the checkpoint is broken. And that section here, if you go for all those Dust Knuckles skips, where you actually are hovering over lava, like right now, okay, great turn back from the Zigwigwi, nice. It's scary, it's okay, it worked well in the end for the Zigwigwi, but wow, it's no one's stopping for anything right now, and I feel like everybody knows how important Shovel Knight is for the tourney.
Oh, for sure. This has been notorious as being a huge factor in many tournaments. This is something that I know all the players have been thinking about in some capacity, and they are going to be hoping to execute. Ghost Death was pretty far away from that block, but the Dust Knuckles did manage to magnetize to it. We'll see how it goes for Zigwigwi, who takes a moment to set up on the stairs. I can't remember who it was. Someone died on those stairs. Just, it's like the intro to 8-4 in Mario on those stairs.
If you go full speed, you will
just run
miss
right off.
the final block, and it's totally made for exactly like it has been designed for you to die on those stairs. Like, for better or for worse, but we've seen that at least. Like, I have like two iteration in mind, but the worst one was Mel West died here on the July tournament and during the finals, and it costs so much time. It's not even funny.
All right, Mole Knight fights went pretty well. Zigwigwi just barely missed the opportunity to get the one cycle. I think it was literally one hit that he needed before he picked it up. Kerpikweek missed a couple hits. He gets the last hit just in time to get that one cycle. Is keeping pace with Fireman. The players have kind of split up into two pairs a little bit here. Ghost Death in the lead. Zigwigwi very close behind. Again, reminder, the PV difference between Zigwigwi and Ghost Death is like 35 points. 45 points. In this game, that is over 6 minutes. It's like 7 minutes PB difference, and Zigwigwi is right behind him heading into the Explodatorium. So this PB of Zigwigwi's is really not indicative of what they're capable of in this game, assuming that they can execute on the later stages of the game that gave them so much trouble that we saw last time.
Yeah, that's exactly the same situation as last week, but do remember last week Zigwigwi did not beat the game on time, if I recall correctly. So it's a tough game, to be honest. Like, Shovel Knight is probably the hardest speedrun we've put on the UD selection, and we've put some pretty intense game. Mega Man X is probably one of those games, also super hard, but oh wow, Zigwigwi! They clipped the pixel right next to the... I did not know you had a safe pixel there. How did that happen? Okay, that's those moments where it's scary, but you're super happy it worked, and you really have just to move on anyway.
Yeah, it just seems totally unfazed. I mean, through that section, there's not really a lot of reason to hesitate, but like, okay, turn back, was pretty sure if he held forward he was going to end up in that hole, so he held left instead as It's almost like DIing in a Smash Brothers game or something, changing the angle that he came off. But it was good. It was really good reaction there from Zigwigwi, who is now touching the same checkpoint as Fireman. So and Ghost Death dies to the mini boss. So our leaders are now in sync, Zigwigwi and Fireman.
This is the first time we've seen anyone die to that mini boss. It's not scary. It should not be whatsoever. You get like into the hitbox and you look at like Fireman and Zigwigwi kill the boss with over 2 full health, like 2 orbs. It's not hard. Oh, Zigwigwi taking a lot of knockbacks close to those spits, a lot of close calls, and taking the time to knock back the knight here. Probably the safe choice. Interesting screen here. You have some ways to get an interesting skip. Everybody moved like from the hardest strat to the safer skip to not doing it at all. Actually, it's pretty interesting. Once again, the history of all the skips in the UD deserves something to be said. Like, because I'm not sure. Either it's because like the best runners maybe have qualified already, and we see some players that are a little bit less confident, but I do actually feel that those players are on par with the other 4 that are already qualified, and everybody is just moving towards safety because UD6 is so hard.
It has been. I would have thought it would go the other way. I would have thought players would be hesitant and first learn safe stuff to get going, and then as they got more comfortable and confident, they would start to incorporate faster and riskier stuff. But I have been completely wrong, like you said. At the end of the day, the players have gone for this more safe and consistent strategy. We'll see how it goes. The Ghost Death is going to be the second person just ahead of just behind Fireman to drop into the boss fight in the Explodatorium, followed by Zigwigwi. Still very close between all 3 of these players, and Kupikpik is not too far behind either on the final screen just behind them. We'll see how these boss fights go. It's very tricky to find any sort of hit on Plague Knight as he jumps around all over the place. Chaos Orb is just as chaotic as him. You can't really count on it to hit him more than once. You can throw it once in his face, and then after that it's just luck whether or not it's going to find any more damage. Fireman's going to be the first one to finish. Ghost Death the first to end the fight, but is still fighting. There we go, finally. Still very close.
Everybody's pretty close together. Kupikpik appears to be like far behind, but it's actually coherent with their PB. Their PB is at 58.43. It's about 3 minutes behind Ghost Death and Fireman PBs. But it's just Zigwigwi's that's outstanding. Like, their best race time is 71 minutes, and they're not stopping for anything. They're a little bit shy on gold compared to the other players, but they broke so many checkpoints. It's Ghost Death that has a lot of money in hand, over 3k extra compared to Fireman and Zigwigwi. I wonder what they're going to do with that. Maybe nothing.
Could be nothing. Could just be, you know, I managed to get this money in case I died or something. But if he does find himself in town, he could get an extra mana upgrade, I guess. Probably doesn't need it, but that could be a thing.
It's maybe like in case they don't, like maybe they kept the same route that they did when they got the 10 HP up, like the 10 total HP. My bad, the 4 HP up at the end, which I would totally understand. I've said that right before. Switching routes can be tricky, and just like keeping consistent different elements between your different routes might be the sanest idea. Like, it's, once again, it's insane being able to run all those 10 games back to back, so keeping sanity where you can, probably the smartest idea.
No, not Stranded Ship. This is the Sunken something city. No, that's Lost City.
The Iron Whale?
The Iron Whale. I was way off.
It's a whale.
Nothing about it is sunken.
Yeah,
it is,
it's okay.
It's underwater.
Yeah.
It is the water one. It is the water level that they're all in. And it is very close between Zigwigwi and Fireman, both hitting that checkpoint and starting the anglerfish section. Ghost Death's orb did not get this snake guy out of the way. But I like the turnaround bounce. yeah, off the backboard there, as the anglerfish is now chasing Zigwigwi and Fireman. This sequence is not too big a deal, but the fight afterwards is where it's becomes hard to optimize.
Like, Zigwigwi had trouble with that sequence, so they moved like from jumping from platform to actually like bouncing, pogoing off the chest, which is like, I feel like it's more inconsistent, but they got great result with that. Fireman got the one cycle. Zigwigwi had to wait for the turnaround of the fish, and they lost a lot of HP, so finding the chicken hidden in the wall, don't do that at home, it's probably not good for your health. And yeah, those set of rooms here can be a bit scary when you're inexperienced, because you can die pretty quickly on those pits and spikes. But once you know how to deal with everybody and all those projectiles thrown at you, it's okay. Zigwigwi and Fireman doing great there. Fireman ignoring the checkpoint, totally understandable since it costs so much time, but the sequence here gets a bit scary then.
Yeah, for sure. This is, well, he's going for it, basically. It's cool to see players playing a little more aggressive in the situations where they see fit. Ghost Death, meanwhile, has put that extra money to use buying the anchor here in the Iron Whale. That's something he's going to have that the other players won't. It's going to drastically increase his consistency on the Propeller Knight fight. And it has a couple other cases where it can come in handy as well. Nice little thing to have in the back pocket. Zigwigwi is chasing Fireman, who is into the boss fight now, getting a ton of damage off those Chaos Orbs, getting 4 hits.
Only 2.5 HP, only 1 HP. One
hit by
and
anything.
They're dead. And no!
That's it. Needed 10 more hits in that fight, so it was very far away from making it happen.
It's so unusual to see anyone dying on Treasure Knight. Like, it's a tough fight, especially with the Conjurer's Code, because Treasure Knight does a lot of damage. It's one of those bosses that have the 1.5 HP hits. That hit, like the giant wave that hit Fireman twice, does a lot of damage, but still. Fireman still ahead of Ghost Death. Zigwigwi following the lead with the worst PB. And Qualifier actually like making great progress. Once again, their PB is behind Fireman and Ghost Death, and they're actually keeping pace, so it's good sign for them.
Yeah, everyone has been doing very well in Shovel Knight. You know, we saw 1 death at this this Treasure Knight fight just now, but like the checkpoint was right there and was only about halfway through the fight. It's a significant time loss, but it's not the truly worst that Shovel Knight is capable of. Meanwhile, other 3 players are dying on purpose, trying to get some extra money for health, I suppose, is what they've already got the 4,000 they need for the Propeller Dagger. So a little bit of extra money for health, or even just insurance against a death is another possibility. Fireman is going to be stopping to pick up that meal ticket, so is going to be grabbing more. Ghost Death as well gets that meal ticket. Qualifier entering the dream sequence now, as Zigwigwi is our leader and going to be the first one into the flying machine. And I feel like this was where things started to go really bad for Zigwigwi last week.
Last week they lost about 12 minutes on the flying machine, so probably the hardest level in the game, because you can first lose so much time like looping back and forth on the same 2 screens if you fall back to it, and the Jawas, the green enemies, they're the worst. So you see a lot of those, and like there's a lot of strats involving like dust knuckles like here, and actually like maybe taking hits intentionally, but still it's a scary level, and you can lose a lot of time. But Zigwigwi got past the first checkpoint at least, so did Fireman and Ghost Death. Everybody's pretty close together, and I'm interested to see what Qualifier is going to do. But they're not going back to town, so it's all about just moving on. 80 max mana. Let's do remember that Zigwigwi has that 10 extra mana, which is actually helping them a ton. Just like actually not having to be so accurate with their Chaos Orb usage, which feels nice.
Nice job on that mini-boss fight, deflecting that bomb and getting the damage from it. If you want to be extra fancy, you can kill that boss way up high and pogo off of it onto the platform on the next screen. That's something that it's cool to see, but it's one of those little optimizations that most players are more worried about getting a good, solid kill on the boss fireman as well, getting that mini-boss down very well. Ghost Death standing back a little bit, relying on the Chaos Orb and the bomb to do some damage, and all the players stopping to pick up extra gold here. So everyone's thinking forward. They're still collecting. They're still looking to buy some of those health upgrades in addition to the propeller dagger that we're just seeing now from Fireman. This is the huge movement option thing that drastically speeds up a lot of rooms just through. It speeds up a little bit just through you move faster when you use it, but it's more about the routes it allows you to take through rooms, over enemies, under enemies, that really gives it the advantage it is. Fireman taking a weird bounce on the wind, but nice recovery,
nice, yeah.
Finding the pogo into the propeller dagger to recover.
No.
And he does it again.
Oh,
He's
okay.
just having trouble,
It's
and
okay,
this time the recovery is not as good. But this is he doesn't want to lose time this way. He's just a little bit too far away to get the magnet from the dust knuckle.
It's one of those times, one of those places. Like it's a bad screen. It's a bad set of enemies. You have to use the dagger, or you have to go slow. And we are at halfway point. We are like at the half-hour mark, 30 minutes into the run. Usually that's where runners start to get like. The run can get under the skull. You want still to go fast, but you have to play consistently. And I'm personally one of those runners that can get super stressed out by the race setting. And the longer the game, the longer the setting is going to get to you. And if you're in PB pace, or if you're on a nice pace, it can get even more stressful. And that's Problem Knight, and the Flying Machine is at the worst place difficulty-wise, and like just in the run in general. It's just a tough level to get around, so I totally understand the kind of mistakes the Firemen just did, and they just have to get back into it and just forget about it. And the next set of levels, they're not easier, but you know you entered the later part of the run. You are done with the Flying Machine, so it's all better. Like the game, it only can get better, I feel.
Very good finishes to the Flying Machine from Zigwigwi and everyone else so far. The Fireman's having a bit of ladder troubles. The jump you want to do at the top of the ladder to get going again at full speed. No. He touches the spikes off of the fan, was counting on dropping down under the platform, and instead got a little bit extra boost and just tapped his face into it.
Catching up with them. Firemen, they need points. There are 30 points behind Zigwigwi. There are 40 points behind second place, and they need anything they can take. So tomorrow is going to be a nice day for them. They have a good story about my uncle, a nice middle slug, and nice trials too. But so does everybody. They don't have the best game out of the bunch, and they need to play super consistently. And Shovel Knight's just the Flying Machine actually is rough for them right now.
Yeah, they're playing it very safe. At least 2 extra cycles in the wind room up and down. Caprique very close behind. Ghost Death as well.
Ghost Death
barely skirting by. He did. He died on the auto scroller section. I didn't catch it, but I did see that gold waiting as he was coming back through the second time, and that means Zigwigwi is well ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's exactly what they needed, and even more, because they're not stopping and everybody else is actually having issues. You never want to plan on other players actually having bad runs, but if that happens when you actually are doing great, it's going to be great for your races. Everybody is going to stop here at the I don't know what the name of the weapon is anymore, but you need that.
Mobile Gear, I believe it is.
Yeah, thanks.
Wait, is that a pun on Metal Gear? Is that? what they were mobile gear. I don't know. I just when it came out of my mouth, it hit me. But it is a very mobile gear. Oh, that is too much mobility. Walking off the side of the platform needed to either jump or not walk. But either way, that's pretty nasty.
Yeah. Everybody else is like exactly well. Kaputpik and Ghostdeath on the same screen. Fireman on like the screen before that, and Zigwigwi is just the next checkpoint after that. So it's very close between all those players. The lead of Zigwigwi shrunk significantly because of that death right before the checkpoint. That doesn't lie. And although everybody Ghostdeath, Kaputpik and Fireman still have to buy the mobile gear, it's going to be like very close. And actually the race is just restarted as Zigwigwi died there. They dropped almost everything they had.
Was able to pick it all up again, so is going to be very thankful for that. Actually went out of their way to drop down onto that platform to get it. Zigwigwi not going for this checkpoint and is down to just 2 pips of health, so yeah, okay. But still, no checkpoint is still fairly aggressive. I feel like that's a great sign after a death like that.
Showing confidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trade. I like that they were confident enough. Oh no! Okay. Those whatever they are, dagger, drills, missiles flying towards you. They spawn at random depending on your position, like your height, and if you go to, and they're moving on those sinusoid trajectories, and it's probably the hardest pattern that is the most common in the video games to dodge. Like you can see that a lot in a lot of video games, and it's unpredictable enough to stall anybody, I feel. So they got like many players, and if you let go of that ladder because you got hit too late, you will die. So Zigwigwi once again taking the time to refill his HP, destroying the checkpoint. What are they going to do with all that money?
Health upgrades are like 4,500 and then 6,000, I think. So
feels like 10 HP for Zigwigwi, maybe 10 HP for Ghostdeath as well. And if Kaputpik and Fireman don't go for that, and that's success for them, they're going to gain like about 1.5 minutes compared to the other two.
Yeah, there's a huge difference in routing, basically. Just having to make extra trips back to town, or even if you do, like the amount of time you spend going out of your way to talk to different vendors and things. There's a very real time gain and lost through just the way you move around on the world map and screen transitions and things. That counts for a lot. It's something that's been available to players that most are not making use of. We've seen players settled on this pretty safe route for the most part, but maybe we'll see players start to break away from it. Zigwigwi is done with Tinker Knight, is moving on to the stranded ship, as the other players are on the Tinker Knight fight.
Tinker Knight fight is okay, as long as you know how to get back up there. Landing the mobile gear is pretty good. You want to deal the most damage. You want the mobile gear to first land on the shoulder pad and then trigger and get down there. Fireman missing mobile gear, you can see it down there, and Ghostdeath making good work on that. So all the players fairly close together, Fireman, Kaputpik and Ghostdeath, and Zigwigwi is not stopping for anything, getting into the stranded ship here, dealing with those enemies. It's a scary level, but it's not too bad. You have a lot of mobility at that point. You have the mobile gear. You need to be able to use the proper dagger correctly here and there to go around and not use those rainbow platforms, especially on that screen. Ziggy is taking his time to set everything up. You need to use the dagger high enough so you don't get hit by those spears, and they do it quite nicely. But it's one of those scary parts where you go all in and you need success or you will die.
Squeaky, oh my goodness, he was so close to getting hit by that diving enemy, and he can't get hit by anything again with the projectile and the bomb.
Wow.
He's making me so nervous, but he gets the health refill and the checkpoint as well. So very close calls from Ziggy. Has been dancing on the edge of disaster in this run, but very, very importantly, has held on and is still in the lead, which is huge. It cannot be understated. These players are all very evenly matched.
Okay.
Very low.
I don't know.
On the bottom of this.
Can you fall? Like, can the platform lowers low enough so you die from like getting off screen? Maybe the platform gets stuck down there. I'm not sure, but that's something I never want to try. So that says enough. I think it's those set of rooms are where the anchors shines the most, because here you see the players having to either take damage or get out of their way. Oh wow, the wolf pushed them on the spikes, but the iframe saved them. Then the enemy here is no, okay.
He is going to take a death after all. Yeah, these are Mega Man 2 and later spikes, not Mega Man 1 spikes. The invincibility frames will save you. But it's not going to save you from taking just too much damage. So
that's the problem with the Conjure Scope. Like, you take so much damage, but it's pretty rare to see someone dying from damage.
Hats off to Ziggy for showing us this,
no.
this rare occurrence. Much rather, I'm sure, would rather it just had a very nice stranded ship, but he's made it back to the gold now. He is still right there with everyone else.
Not going out their way to pick up the gold, but Fireman actually closed the gap right now. They got to Polar Knight almost at the same time.
The other players are very close. This is the first time I think we've ever had so many Shovel Knight players all be so close to each other at this point in the run. Ghost Death going down for that extra money there. Capriquix says there goes the mobile gear, so he maybe didn't want the chest, but he's looking at it. He could get it. He's going to move on without it. Polar Knight down for Ziggy.
Because this is in a sticky spot there. They got like 2 mobile gear down, got hit twice, pushed a knockback off the mobile gear, and finally makes it. That's how Ziggy died. And if Ghost Death were to die, they would have lost so much time. Digman, Fireman on the top left screen died to Polar Knight. It's a scary fight. You have all those spikes on ground. It's pretty easy for you to die, but usually you go so deep into the fight that you are constantly in iframe. But Ghost Death got stuck on the bottom left part of the screen between the spikes and the boss and died. Capriquix died also. I just saw a gold money bag there. What happened at the end of that stranded ship? Everybody died on those 2 set of screens. Oh, and Capriquix died there. Looked almost intentional.
Yeah, with the checkpoint is right there. You'd get a health refill. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm really not sure myself. But he is moving on with a very minor time loss into the Polar Knight fight. Couldn't be, had to join the rest, basically. He didn't want to be left out of dying at the end of Stranded Ship, so here we are. Very good fight with those Chaos Orbs doing a lot of work, the way it tends to do on this boss. He doesn't jump up or get out of the way of them. He goes left and right. The orbs go left and right. There's potential to get a ton of damage out of your Chaos Orbs. And we're seeing now the results of everyone's hard-earned money. Ziggy is going to be picking up all 10 health. The players have been eagerly gobbling up every bit of cash that they could find, so I'm pretty sure that we're going to see 10 from Fireman. And Ghost Death, Capriquix, I think, can also afford all 10, but we'll see.
Ziggy got 10, so 10 extra mana early. Then keep on breaking everything and gathering all the money they could. So they got 10 HP and 100 MP max right now. What's scary though is that everybody that does that right now. You would save about a minute and a half if you were to... that's 10 points, by the way. If you were just to skip altogether those refill. And that's maybe something the other runners for the Grand Finals are going to do. It's to be seen, obviously, and maybe it's not worth it. But I'm surprised that everybody goes for that. And well, I like it for the race right now, but it's maybe the meta to go for safety during UD6 is actually deeper than I thought. Like, maybe everybody is going to do that just because just being able to finish all those 10 games in a row is so hard already that you have to play for safety for every bit you can, and maybe a minute is not worse actually yet.
A minute though, that's a juicy...
Yeah,
it's a juicy little tidbit. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, someone like Mel West who really pushes the boundaries. I could see them going to take advantage of that minute, and it's something that I don't know. Maybe players will regret going so safe. I for example, Fireman after Cuphead, I think it was. Finished Cuphead, was feeling pretty good about it, then saw the times his opponents put up and was like, wow. I put up the same time as Kerpequik, but Kerpequik died and he didn't, so it just made up that through execution. So maybe players will see, like, these, when everyone plays safe and everyone finishes, then the person who wins is the person who has the better optimization. And so maybe I should start thinking a little more about these optimizations, and maybe the pendulum will swing back the other way.
Maybe the really month of October is going to be a month of risk instead of safety. Zigwigwi has only one orb of health, and yeah, they made it, but I got scared for a little bit. There's like chicken right here, so they will be back to full HP. Nice, like, hats off to the game for giving like full health with the chicken and 1 HP with the apple, and not like just like 5 HP with the chicken, because that would make the health upgrade so much worse for a lot of those fights, especially the boss rush where you have consistent HP during the fight. So that's pretty good, because that makes the games much more accessible for new players and new speedrunners, so I like that choice.
Squiggy dropping the combo on Black Knight pretty early on with the Propeller Dagger. Much easier to get these Propeller Dagger hits than trying to do some shovel canceling. And extending it very long there actually gets him down to 1.5. Only needs one more hit.
Fight.
Yeah.
Was the dropping on the Propeller Dagger intentional, so you have a longer second opportunity to get him stuck? Or
could be.
I do remember learning that fight, especially, like, it's a tough fight, but as soon as you know his behavior and how to use the Propeller Dagger, it helps. But I do still remember seeing a lot of runner having to pogo him on his flying phase, like Fireman does. Fireman did not drop and got directly the wing phase, so now he has to wait, and he's going to lose a lot of time compared to Zigwigwi, and actually has to wait for the Meteor Strike here. And yeah, I'm not sure, but that fight from Zigwigwi actually saved them a lot of time.
It could be something where players are not doing the fastest stuff. They're doing something that's a little slower and safer and consistent and works for them, as has been the case in UD in any game. But sometimes there's room to optimize those safer, more consistent strategies. Sometimes there's something that works better in that situation, and I don't know if that's something that's known but less known that Zigwigwi just did, or something he came up with. We have seen a couple of new things come out from UD competitors in the quest to find something that works for them in this competition, and maybe that was something. It was definitely cool to see. Zigwigwi also done with this very scary room, moving this platform around, getting up on the top of the screen, making use of the propeller dagger.
We've seen a lot of players die to that screen. The secret is to get on top of the platform, just like on the left side, the right side, and not on the left sides. And you use your charge swings to actually like pull the platform forward instead of pushing it. And if you do that, you will be sure to kill the hidden ninja samurai archer guy in the ceiling, and that makes it so much safer. Yeah, Zigwigwi is actually a couple of screens ahead, and everybody else is pretty close together. So yeah, we'll see Ghost Death go on like in front of the platform, kill the enemy in one hit. We'll see Fireman do the exact same thing, and that's the nice and consistent strat. And that's where I like speedrunning, where the easiest strat is also the safest and the most consistent. That's the best part.
Getting hit by the Jawa there, but able to go underneath it and propeller dagger to victory. We've seen players save themselves with the propeller dagger in a lot of different and interesting ways, and this room has plenty of opportunities for it to happen, so always cool to see. We can see Ghost Death died just there, was not able to save himself that time, but second time around is going to make it and get that checkpoint.
Yeah, they played super safe on the second strat, wait on the second time, waiting on top of the screen to kill the first Jawa, like Quick is doing right now on the top right of the screen. They killed it, and now they're waiting, and the ground is waiting for you, like welcomingly on the second Jawa. You can just propeller dagger above it. Something we've seen just once and no one did ever again is falling off the ladder at the start of the Mario World auto-scroller there. Everybody now is hanging tight until they can move on, which is nice to see. And yeah, everybody is going to start the boss rush roughly at the same time. Zigwigwi is having like about a 40 seconds lead, and they're about on a, I don't know, 5-minute PB pace, I think. And I think you're muted, by the way. This Ghost Death just died, and is having to start all over again the auto-scroller, sadly. I'm not sure where they died. I just seen the death screen, but it's pretty weird.
Yeah, that is not a typical place that that players die. Zigwigwi's PB is a 102.38. I looked it up and then forgot at 28. So with 4 more boss fights left to go on this boss rush, plus King Knight, and then Enchantress and Enchantress 2, it's massive. It's like a 3 or 4 minute PB we're looking at from Zigwigwi. Gotta be happy about that.
Yeah, they have so much health to that boss rush. Like, I'd be worried for anyone with, like, even the best players with like only 6 HP. But 10 HP showing so much confidence and consistency throughout the entire run. It is still scary, you can still die, but I feel good about that. They still have the chicken on the center of the screen there. If they take too many hits, they might go for that right now, refill the mana as well. Plague Knight is a nightmare, obviously, but should be okay. 8 health left for Zigwigwi, getting some nice hits. They are not using so much Chaos Orb, I'm not sure why. The weird flask is on, like, it's floating there.
This is getting on a hand a little bit. He doesn't have any chicken anymore, and he's down to half health.
The fight got weird, but should be down quickly. I'm not sure why they're not using the mana at all. And they're keeping some, probably for Propeller Knight, but I'm not sure. Like, the too good to use mana could have killed them right there. Nice RNG there at the start of the fight when you fight Spectre Knight on the Lich Yard is set. But when you fight it during the boss rush, it's not. And they got a good pattern twice there. And still not using their mana. You can get some nice Propeller Dagger hits when he's floating in front of you and he's waiting to get some a nice swing and kill the boss. It is not the cleanest refights we've seen, but as long as they get there, they have enough mana to get a good proper knight. The chicken in the center of the screen should be safe. They're taking it right now. Not the best proper knight fight. They don't have the anchor to hit them right now, so they have painfully to wait.
Going for a charge slash rather than a go. And it's on the wrong side of the screen right now, so but just needs to find 3 more hits. There it is. Other players are kind of catching up a little bit. Krupiklik is on a 4th. Fireman is now finishing Tinker Knight off as the final. This has been a very slow boss rush for Zigwigwi. Is still posed to, get a massive PB, keep pace with all the other runners in a game that supposedly was going to be his biggest weakness. It's still going to be huge, but we can see that the other players, particularly Fireman, are a little more solid at some of this late game stuff, particularly this boss rush.
I mean, it's incredible for Zigwigwi to get on such a pace during a race. I'm super happy to see that all the runners are currently in sub 60 pace. Just to confirm that the switch from 65 limit to 60 does not change much, except like mentally for those runners. Less scared, they are less scared with the cutoff, and they are just like confidently, playing through the game. But it's
Ghost Death died on the boss rush. He is back to the start. He was down to like the second to last fight or something.
What killed them?
I missed it.
Like Plague Knight? I was just focusing on Krupiklik finishing right now a Mole Knight and entering the proper dagger fight. They have the anchor, by the way. I did not see that coming, but they got it like in the middle of the game, so should not be so surprised. And Propeller Knight should not be a problem, as demonstrated right now, but the anchor just wrecks them.
Zigwigwi had a bit of a mismenu getting to the mobile gear to ride to the end, so we just showing off the Dust Knuckle a little bit before he gets started with the fight, triggering the final checkpoint heading into the Enchantress fight, just a little bit ahead of Fireman, who are both a little bit ahead of Krupiklik, very close all the way through to the end of the game. It's generally not been the case for 4 competitors in Shovel Knight, or maybe at least it would have been. Ghost Death actually pretty far behind still in that boss rush. Manages to find 1 hit.
Oh no!
Down to that's not going to work. If he got hit to the left, maybe that could have happened, but that hit was pretty bad and kind of avoidable. I feel like that was a pretty weird way to die.
Yeah, they got like a bad start of the fight. You can see like Fireman got the Enchantress down to 2 HP. You can get consistently there using the mobile gear plus the bouncing back the Enchantress orbs, plus your charge slash, plus your chaos orb. You have a lot of damage output, but it's not an easy fight, and if it doesn't go right, you might have trouble like going back to it. Look at Zigwigwi's Enchantress. They killed it before the start of the second phase. That was incredible refight. Like, it's sad they died there because Fireman passed them, but it's still so great. Ghost Death, that was one of their biggest strengths and their last right now. Thankfully, they are about like 40 points ahead of Fireman, so it's not too bad. It's going to absorb a little bit of that lead, but I'm surprised. And the refight actually death to Plague Knight. Plague Knight is not done yet for the second time either, so that can get into like your skull, maybe a little.
We'll see if he's able to handle it. Zigwigwi joining Fireman on the second phase, second Enchantress fight. Needs just 1 more hit, literally 1. Needs it. Where is it? Looking for it.
Shield Knight is the
don't
worst,
even
by the way.
familiar with this 3 attack
Nice.
pattern. All right, finally, Shield Knight obliges. Zigwigwi, meanwhile, is
Zigwigwi got
looking
weak
for
patterns also.
Yeah,
They
needs
did
so
not
many
get
more
so
hits.
many hits at the start, and Shield Knight is like super weird. Like I do remember like someone saying you have to jump at certain spots, so Shield Knight actually does anything. If you don't, Shield Knight is going to wait for you to move, which is pretty bad. But finally, the Enchantress is down. Sub 1 hour for Zegwigwe. This is a 4 minutes PB, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. This is incredible, by the way. That was the biggest weakness for Zegwigwe. This is a 13-minute PB in a race. Like, his previous best race time was an hour, 11 minutes and 14 seconds. So that's exactly what they needed. And to end the day with that, they're going to enter tomorrow's selection with so much more confidence. It's going to be great. Ghostdeath starts the final level, but they lost 3 minutes, sadly, to the boss rush.
Yeah, that 3 minutes is a big deal. They're not out of it yet. There's still a lot of games left to play, but that is really going to hurt, especially when, you know, players like Zegwigwe, the second day is going to be their stronger day. They've got the best trials by far, one of the stronger Area of Sorrow, and Kerpukvik as well is pretty good for tomorrow. Fireman is a little worried about Metal Slug, but really this was where Ghostdeath was hoping to shine really on games like Shovel Knight, and really isn't. Inertia was their worst game, and that was today. So is through that and actually did pretty well there, but I still think Ghostdeath is going to be a threat for these last 5 games. Yeah. He's been the strongest player in many games, and has just been so impressive in his consistency. So is not out of it, but is going to be playing from behind by a fairly big deficit. He could have made that work if he had dealt with that fireball, but he didn't. This is still, so our timer is still geared for the 1 minute or 1 hour mark. There's still some additional time running. Don't be too concerned about that. The timer's actually doing something weird. Don't pay attention to it. But, we are still plenty of time for Ghostdeath to finish this Enchantress fight, get on the board with 110 points or so. We'll see what his final time ends up being, assuming that he can find these last few hits on the Enchantress. This was the problem. Last time he does manage to dodge that final hit. He has turned the battlefield into Swiss cheese with his movement, but he is moving on now to the second phase where he can finally pick up the last few hits.
He's trying to get some Carousels to hit, but did not find the correct hole in the Swiss cheese, as you said. I insisted on how great Zegwigwe's run was, but Kerpukvik also managed to get like a fantastic set of 5 games and got very close to PB on Shovel Knight, very beat his best race time. His previous best race time was an hour, 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Got sub hour here, I'm pretty sure. Got super close to PB. So everybody got on their worst game, got way better than expected. So it's shrinking the lead, the marginal lead that Ghostdeath had by quite a lot, and that means more than ever everybody has a chance to get to the top 2. As usual, I'd love to get everybody on the grand finals, but we have only 2 seats and cannot get everybody there. Ghostdeath getting on 2 hits here is actually pretty bad. They need to get the proper dagger hits to keep on going. Here we go. That should trigger the second phase where the entrance just slams down. Easy way to get up there. And a few hits, second slam, and boom, it's done.
A bit of a shaky start, but a very strong finish to Enchantress 2 for Ghostdeath. We're going to take a look in a little bit as the final times get tabulated, see where the players stand. After day 1, 5 games of 10 played today. The next 5 will be played tomorrow, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. CEST, and if you're on the West Coast, prepare to get up early. 8 in the morning is when you're going to have to catch the start of day 2. But it has been a fantastic day 1. There was a ton of back and forth all over the place, some really great runs, some surprises. this has been one of the best days of competition in the UD. I don't even know who's going to be on top at the end. We had Zagwigwi was in third pretty much the whole way, but then he did the fantastic Shovel Knight. Kerpweekweek performed at PB pace. I get to cheat and look at the leaderboard. Now we got it up now, so we do get to see the final results. Like Kerpweekweek and Zagwigwi, who started out, after the first 2 or 3 games in third and fourth, have finished in first and second.
It's okay. Spectrable decided everything. Look at the Spectrable times. It's in order with the finish. So Kerpweekweek got a crazy good Spectrable and is currently in first with a very good inertia. Was behind on Cuphead, behind on DKC, but very good Shovel Knight. Zagwigwi got pretty much perfect times everywhere but inertia, and he's only 12 points behind. So 12 points is, let's see, it's 2 minutes on an average game. Like, it's 2 minutes on the NGS9. But no, it's a minute, sorry, my bad. It's a minute on the NGS9. It's 2 minutes on the shorter games like Middle Slug. But that diluted on 5 games mean you have to gain like just about 10 seconds per game for the next 5 games, and that's it. So it's nothing. Ghostdeath got a perfect Cuphead. He was probably a bit disappointed with his inertia, but got a very good DKC. And clearly the issue was the death on Shovel Knight, and we can see right now Kerpweekweek. For tomorrow we are playing The End Is Nigh, A Story About My Uncle, Metal Slug, Trials 2, and Castlevania Eye of Sorrow. They're currently in first place. What are the odds that they keep that first place?
Well, they're a little weak on Eye of Sorrow compared to the other 3, but they're not really weak on anything else, and they're kind of as strong as anyone else across most of the other games. Zagwigwi kind of stands ahead of everyone on Trials, but Kerpweekweek is more or less evenly matched on everything but Eye of Sorrow with the best of anyone else. That is a great position to be in. Has this 12-point deficit, or 12 points to play around with that could be a deficit on Eye of Sorrow, and then you've got right there in the mix. I would have said Ghostdeath. I would have thought Ghostdeath going to be in there. The other spot I would favor Fireman, but I wouldn't be surprised to see any of the others. And now I have literally no idea who is going to be either of the 2 who are going to advance. Fireman is got to look out for Metal Slug, but otherwise is very strong on all of these other games. And Zagwigwi is a little worried about A Story About My Uncle, but is fantastic on Trials. One of the best Eye of Sorrow. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for these other 2 players to catch them, but they can. They absolutely can. 14 points between second and third across 10 games is nothing, and even Fireman is only 13 more points behind that. It is basically as close as players can be across 5 games. Like, this is it. This is a fantastic place to be in. Still anyone's game, anyone's tournament, anyone's grand finals guarantee heading into October. I'm literally excited for tomorrow in a way that I haven't been in any of the past UD tournaments.
So just to put things in perspective, during the July tournament, Brothermain, who qualified, got very close results to Kerpweekweek as they did today on those 5 games. So Brothermain got 59-24 on Shovel Knight. That's a little bit worse, but very close for Kerpweekweek. They got 940 on Spectrable, and that's a little bit significantly behind, like by 15 seconds compared to what Kerpweekweek got today. They got 2041 on Cuphead. That's almost the same once again. They got 12 minutes on inertia, so that's actually far behind because Kerpukuk got 8 minutes and 32 seconds. That's a major difference. And they got 40-34 on DKC, while Kerpukuk had 46-11. So those two differences balances themselves out. And overall, that's pretty good, very close results for those two players. Brotherman did qualify during the July tournament in second place. Devil Tifa got crazy good times on every single game, so it's pretty hard to compare with them right now. And but I feel like it's going to be actually harder to qualify during the September tournament right now, tomorrow, for those two players who will qualify, compared to what happened both during the July tournament and the August tournament.
Yeah, we talked about earlier today that, you know, this was a huge opportunity because there's a lot of people who are big threats who are going to be in the October Last Chance tournament, maybe, and you don't want to have to beat them when you've fought to earn yourself into this situation, to beat these people here. And now these people here are proving to be some of the biggest threats in the tournament anyway. So it is... it's been a fantastic day one, for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Tomorrow, same time as you said earlier, 5 p.m. if you're in Europe, 11 a.m. if you're on the East Coast. That's 8 a.m. for Pacific time, and that's super early if you're in Hawaii. But for the rest of the day, since it's so early for so many of you, you have a lot of stuff to watch on Speed Gaming, actually.
Yeah, so if you hop over to the main channel, the Link to the Past Randomizer Summer Tournament Finals, with the big prize pool and the whole shebang, that started just a little bit ago. You're probably already gone. You're probably not listening to anything else I'm saying right now. But we do have Ori Randomizer, Zelda 1 Randomizer, Celeste, Portal, Momodora actually is a really cool game that we have on the channel now. Super Metroid, Luigi's Mansion Grand Finals are after A Link to the Past and some Super Metroid stuff on the main channel. Mega Man 2 Randomizer, Undertale, and DKC. If you want to see more DKC, the All-Stage Tournament is the early stages. Super Castlevania 4, Celeste, it's all happening on Speed Gaming just today. That's just today. There's pretty much every day tons of stuff happening on the channel. But for now, I highly recommend the finals for A Link to the Past Randomizer.
So you're all set up for today. Tomorrow, obviously, UD on Speed Gaming 2, I think, at 11 a.m. And we'll see you then. So I'm super excited. I'm super worried for those four because I'm not sure they're going to have such a great night. Probably going back to practice, but I would recommend to take a break, enjoy the Saturday evening, watch the Zelda Randomizer finals, all that jazz. But The End is Nigh, A Story About My Uncle, Metal Slug, Charles 2, and Castlevania Eye of Sorrow. We're super excited. I hope you are also.